Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is what if Naruto met the crew of his Segregate brother Luffy and built his harem with Nami part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. It was a normal peaceful day in Fuchsia village. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and two boys were standing atop the mast of the red-haired pirates, commanded under Captain, red-haired, Shanks. Wait, what? Say, Cap'n, what do ya think the kid are up to this time? Asked Lucky Roo, a rather portly pirate of Shanks' crew, with his ever-present grin and his trademark meat on a bone in his hand. Who cares what they're doing, it'll be worth a few laughs whenever those two are involved, said the amused Captain Shanks, looking up toward the mast where the two boys were goading them into doing whatever they were planning. The boys just humphed at Shanks' proclamation and continued their antics. The one to the left was a village boy by the name of Monkey D. Luffy. The boy has shaggy black hair and a white t-shirt with word anchor in the middle, and was brandishing a knife. The boy on the right was Uzumaki D. Naruto, no relation, and son of Uzumaki D. Kushina, as well as Namikaze D. Minato, captain of the Flash Pirates, both deceased. He had sun-kissed blonde hair, and ocean blue eyes like his father's but a spirit like his mother's. Currently he was wearing a orange and blue jumpsuit, his outfit from the show, and had 6 knives, 3 in each hand. We'll show you how tough we are, Shanks, just watch, let's do it, Luffy, said the blonde. Receiving a nod from the other boy, they simultaneously stabbed themselves in their cheeks, eliciting a scream of pain from both as the knives dug in their flesh. This sent all the pirates on the ship into a panic as they witnessed the boys do something so stupid, and rushed to help. Party's bar. Inside a quaint little bar in the village, the pirates were celebrating Luffy and Naruto's courage. Did ya see us, Shanks? We were completely tough. You have to take us on your next voyage now, said Luffy, a bandage present under his left eye. No way, Luffy, you can't even swim, though I'd consider taking Naruto, he can. Shanks clarified, as well as added that last bit to further torture Luffy as he screamed about how it wasn't fair. Naruto sighed at his surrogate brother. Come on, Luffy, you always let the captain get to you. You have to be more sensible like me. Luffy just blankly stared at the blonde. When did he get so smart? Thought the boy. Shanks just laughed and prodded Luffy with his finger while lifting his glass to take a swig of his drink. He's right, Luffy, are you ever gonna grow up? Shanks queried that as until he drank his grog to find it was hot, really hot. Without any warning he started spewing flames as anime tears fell from his eyes. Ha! I got you with my revenge prank. Hot sauce grog. You should see you face, laughed the blonde before he started running from the infuriated captain. You little brat, don't ever mess with my ale. Ah! Screamed the pirate and child while the entire bar watched on in amusement. Minutes later, Shanks was enjoying his new glass as Naruto sat next to Luffy, sporting multiple bumps on his head as well as tick marks since Luffy was laughing at him. Could you stop now? We get it, I got beat up, it's not that funny, the ashamed blonde said as Luffy continued to laugh. Suddenly the door was kicked open as a plentiful amount of men walked into the bar, the most prominent being the one in front, sporting an X-shaped scar over his right eye and wearing a brown, black pants, and a gold necklace. Everyone was so fixated on the commotion they never noticed the two boys eating fruits they had found in a treasure chest, though judging by their faces you could tell they didn't taste very good. Look out for the terror of the Highlands, announced the man as he proceeded through the aisle of the bar. Stopping at the counter he said, I am Higuma, the bear, and this is my group of mountain bandits. We'd like you to sell us some ale if you don't mind. Makino, the owner of the bar and Naruto's mother figure after his passed away, started to sweat and apologized, saying she had sold the last batch, which clearly angered the bandits. Out of alcohol. That seems hard to believe because I can see all these pirates drinking it, stated the bandit leader matter-of-factly. I am terribly sorry, sir, but I did serve the last of it a couple of moments ago, said Makino worriedly, hoping to avoid any conflicts. Sorry friend, seems me and my crew drank all of the liquor, but I do have this one bottle that's unopened. You can have this if you like, said Shanks politely. Now normally when you respond to someone's kindness it's with a thank you, or even a no thanks, but instead of either instance Higuma thought it best to crack the bottle over Shanks' head, spilling the contents of said bottle, and debris all over the floor of the bar. Are you mad? What good is one bottle to all of us? We would need barrels, said the enraged bandit, though Shanks wasn't listening, preferring to crouch to the ground to begin cleaning the mess that is, until the bear decided to slash all of the bottles on the counter, showering Shanks in even more ale and shards of glass. If you enjoy cleaning so much, go ahead and clean that up while you're at it, said Higuma as he and his band of bandits left the bar. After Makino checked to make sure that Shanks was okay, the entire crew of the red-haired pirates erupted in laughter as their captain joined in. How could you just laugh that off? Yelled Luffy and Naruto at the same time, halting the crew's laughter to hear the interaction between the kids and their captain. You were supposed to beat them up. Even with their larger numbers you could have beat them. The boys yelled simultaneously, again making the pirates wonder how they did that twice. Look kids, it isn't anything to get bent out of shape about. So he spilled a drink on me, no big deal, said the captain, just waving the occurrence off as if it were nothing. This didn't deter the boys as they turned to leave, with Shanks grabbing their arms trying to get them to come back, but, to everyone's surprise, Luffy's arm stretched and Shanks' hand went through Naruto's own hand. Staring in disbelief while the boys panicked about their arms, Lucky Roo, being the first to recover, ran to the treasure chest. The boys found the fruit and gasped, finding it empty. They aren't here, screamed the fat pirate. Both devil fruits we found aren't in the chest. Everyone then looked at the boys intently as Lucky Roo drew a picture of both fruits. One was purple with swirls while the other was black with white spots on it. You guys didn't eat these, did you? Roo asked as the boys nodded in the affirmative, as well as sweat drops on their heads remembering the fruit's horrible taste. You fools, you ate devil fruits, now you can never swim again. Those fruits were enchanted by devils of the sea, Shanks explained. What? Now I can't learn how to swim. This sucks, screamed Luffy as Naruto screamed too. Who cares if Luffy can't swim? I could and I enjoyed it. Now I can't do it ever again. Luffy then went for a punch at his brother for his remark, but it went right through him, causing Luffy to crash into a pole. The next day, Luffy found out yesterday that he ate the gum fruit, making his body rubber, allowing him to stretch his extremities to amazing lengths, while Naruto found out that he ate the only fruit of its kind recorded so far, the space-time fruit, allowing him to control space and time at will. Currently the two boys were planning on stealing some fish from the fishmonger they both knew under the guise of buying it. Hey, Mr. Fishmonger, can I get some fish? Asked Luffy cheerily while Naruto was using his powers to levitate a fish over to him while the monger was distracted by Luffy. Hey there, rubber boy, where's your brother? I thought you'd be sad that the pirates left without you, not to mention you can't swim either. The monger stated, though it did little to faze Luffy. It's alright, me and Naruto are still gonna be pirates, we just need to make sure we don't fall overboard. Besides, it's fun having devil fruit powers, the boy said as he stretched his cheeks. That's great and all, but the fishmonger turned to the levitating fish and grabbed it, and Naruto, after his face became that of a demon's, don't use those powers to rob from my shop, he screamed while the boys cowered as they nodded their heads. That's when the mayor showed up, named Whoop Slap, funny name right? And furrowed his brow at the two. You two shouldn't be so happy about being freaks, you know. Also Naruto, Luffy, I want you to stop this pirate nonsense, it'll make the village look bad if you became pirates and blah blah blah, said the mayor while the boys just plugged their ears. Party's bar. Makino was behind the counter cleaning glasses while Luffy was sitting across from her plying with a glass while Naruto was asleep beside him. I just can't believe it, Makino. I thought they were supposed to be tough, but they didn't stand up for themselves at all, Luffy said, wondering what was up with the red-haired pirates. Makino simply smiled. Luffy, maybe it just takes more courage not to fight. The woman had stated the correct answer, but Luffy's childhood naivety wouldn't have any of it. Ah, Makino, you'd have to be a man to understand what I'm getting at, Luffy deadpanned as the bartender giggled. That's right, when the door was kicked open again, which jolted Naruto awake as the brothers stared at the door to see the same mountain bandits from the other day sit down and order drinks. 30 minutes later, Makino rushed and got the mayor and rushed back to her bar to see Higuma roughing Luffy and Naruto up after the boys decided to attack him for speaking ill about Shanks. What did I do to instigate this? All I was doing was talking to my men, and the next thing I know you two try to attack me, said the leader as he stepped on the boys repeatedly. You know what you did, and you better apologize. No one talks bad about Shanks. The boys yelled. EY, what's going on? Nobody was at the harbor to welcome us back, said the familiar voice of red-haired Shanks as he appeared with his crew. Oh, it's you mountain bandits again. What's with you two? I thought you trained for situations like this, Shanks stated, then asked the two boys. Not now, Captain Shanks, we were getting ready to finish them, Luffy said. Shanks then began to walk forward when a nameless bandit pointed a gun at his head. Don't move if you want to live, pirate, the bandit said. That's when Shanks turned just his head toward him. You know it's not safe to point guns, the strafutted captain said, confusing the bandits until Lucky Roo suddenly appeared by his side and shot him, surprising the bandits at how swiftly the fat man moved. Higuma became angry at this and ordered all of his men to charge forward. Captain, I've got this one, stated Ben Beckman, Shanks' first mate, as he proceeded to clean house on all the bandits with no assistance whatsoever. Fearful, Higuma threw a smoke pellet onto the ground, grabbed Luffy and beat a hasty retreat in the cover of the smoke. Damn it, I let him get away with Luffy. We have to find him, Shanks yelled, concerned, while Naruto was looking down and feeling pathetic for not saving Luffy. Island coast. Ha, the perfect plan. Hide out at sea and escape. No one would expect a mountain bandit to do this, said the smug bandit as he looked at Luffy. Now I don't need you anymore, ya brat. With that said, Higuma kicked Luffy off the dinghy and laughed until he saw a shadow. As he turned around, he was met with the gaping maw of a sea king. With one tremendous chomp, it swallowed the dinghy and its passenger, then turned its sights on the drowning Luffy. When it took a bite, it didn't taste the boy but an arm. That's right, Shanks miraculously found Luffy and saved him from the jaws of death, and to the naked eye he made the sea monster run away with just a harsh glare. Back on land. So you guys are leaving? Naruto asked, very sad to see his and Luffy's role model and father figure leave. Yep. We've stayed here for way too long, we're practically attracting trouble now, the pirate captain said. Well, that's alright, we won't ask to come or anything, we decided to become pirates on our own, Luffy said, beaming with pride. Shanks just stuck his tongue out at the notion. You two pirates, that'll be the day. You could never be pirates, Shanks said as a hidden way to test their conviction. Yeah, I will. I'll get a crew that's even better than yours. I'll become the Pirate King, both boys said, but at the last proclamation electricity sparked between their eyes as the challenge for the better crew and who'd be the Pirate King was on. So you're both gonna be better than us, Shanks said, amused while taking his hat and cape off. Well then, I need you to hold on to these for me, they're my treasures. I want you to give them back to me when you become great pirates. At Shanks' words, the boys began to cry as they saw Shanks leave. They're going to become great pirates, Beckman stated while his captain simply nodded as they set sail. 10 years later, Makino and the entire village were at the coast watching as the two brothers headed out on separate dinghies. There they go, Mayor, sure I'm going to miss them, Makino said. The mayor just sighed. If they do become great pirates, they'll bring shame to the village, the mayor said to himself. See ya later, Luffy, don't get caught by the Marines, said a 17-year-old Naruto wearing Shanks' cape over a black shirt with a black hole in the middle, and black shorts. Yuta, Naruto, see you when the sea bring us back together, said the 17-year-old Luffy wearing a red vest, blue shorts, and Shanks' straw hat. The two brothers then parted ways. Somewhere in East Blue. Ah, It sure is peaceful out here and boring, there isn't even anyone to play pranks on. Sigh, oh well, I have to make sure I get a super crew than Luffy so I can be Pirate King. I wonder if Luffy's in any trouble yet, said the blonde. Somewhere else in East Blue, Luffy was being sucked into a whirlpool at the beginning of his journey. Back with Naruto. Nah, even Luffy couldn't get in trouble at the beginning, it's barely been 20 minutes since we separated. The spatial user said that's when a sudden tidal wave struck. I don't believe it, a tidal wave, and I can't swim either. The boy then took a look around, there aren't any islands either. So I'm gonna die before I even get a first mate. He contemplated, not at all caring about his imminent danger until the wave struck. Random island, this first one I couldn't come up with a good name, sorry. On this island we see a teen with pale skin, flame-like hair, and goggles on his head running away from a shopkeeper while he screams, "Monster!" Over and over again. The teen jumped into an alley and with a wave of his hand metal blocked the passage, so the shopkeeper had to stop the chase. "All right, time to eat," said the teen, that is, until a pair of hungry kids walked by him while eyeing his food, but a look at his dark ringed red eyes made them back off. "Hey, get over here," he said in a demanding tone, to which they complied to. He simply got up, dropped the food by them and walked off. "Sigh, go on kid, be a big softy just 'cause you started out like them," said the newly identified kid as he walked, ignoring the glares sent his way. This was all because of his appearance. When he was born, his parents had dropped him at some orphanage with an abusive caretaker. Kid took it upon himself to the big brother to them. So he would sneak out and steal food, toys, and medical supplies for the others. Eventually, while stealing some food, he came across some strange fruit that tasted terrible. The next thing he knew, he could use magnetism to attract, repel, or build anything they needed. Their caretaker didn't take this well and tried to beat Kid, resulting in him killing her in front of the public eye. In order to protect the other orphans, he proclaimed himself as the one stealing and hoarding it all to himself. Now he was living on the streets, stealing what he could to survive. "Hey kid." Turning toward the voice, Kid saw a little girl grabbing his lizard print pant leg. "What do you want, brat?" Kid said impatiently, keeping his tough guy facade. "Something washed up on the beach, come see." The girl said, grabbing his hand to lead him. "Beach? See, do you know what it is?" Kid simply stared at the sand that was clearly covering a human body, and sweat dropped at how the girl couldn't see it was a human. "Why is there a guy here anyway?" he thought, then proceeded to kick him to see if he was alive, the girl joining in, believing she had to do it too. That's when the body burst up to reveal a blonde boy. "Who the hell is kicking me?" he yelled as the girl screamed and hid behind Kid's pant leg. The trio just stared at each other for a while. "So what's your name again?" the blonde asked. Kid grew a tick mark at this. "Shouldn't you be telling us who you are?" Kid asked. The blonde didn't appear to be listening as he cleaned his ears of any sand. "Sorry, so where am I anyway, guy?" Kid was moving to choke him when the little girl noticed his 6 scars on his cheeks resembling whiskers, and as no little girl could resist them, she jumped in his arms while petting them. They both sweat dropped and Kid proceeded to explain, "Don't mind her. I'm Eustace Kid and you're in Tanzaku village," he told the blonde, trying to get the little girl off of him. "Hi, I'm Uzumaki D. Naruto, the future pirate king." His statement shocked Kid. "So you're a pirate, where's your crew and Jolly Roger?" he asked. For the basics of pirates, the blonde simply said, "Don't have him yet, I just started today." Kid just sighed. "Well, might as well show you around, till you get a new boat," he said, noticing the splinters. "Yeah, thanks." Off the coast. "Captain Killer, we are approaching an island," said a pirate with white hair and a zombie-like appearance, was all that was heard from the captain in strange headgear and blonde hair sticking out the back. "Head towards it, I'm feeling like a slaughter," Killer stated as the ship turned toward the island. Tanzaku village. Restaurant. "What's up with the stairs, did you prank them or something?" the oblivious blonde asked as he held the girl whose name he learned was Trisha. "No, you wouldn't understand what I had to go through," Kid said. "Try me," was the captain's reply. After hearing Kid's tale, Naruto was crying what he called manly tears. That is so touching, you sacrificed your own reputation for kids, alright, you're joining my crew. The blonde said, leaving no room for argument, while Kid sat there mouth agape. You can't be serious. I mean, I wanna be a pirate but not under someone unless I absolutely have to, and besides these brats need someone to watch over them. He motioned to Trisha. Come on and join already, besides my brother you're the only other friend I've got. The ocean-eyed boy said. After the word friend, Kid felt like going. Besides his surrogate brothers and sisters that got off the island, he had no one. Trisha was the only one to talk to him while everyone else glared hatefully at him. Well, before Kid could answer, the pirate alarm went off. What's that? Naruto asked, but when he turned around, Eustace was gone. Outside, Kid was running through every alley making sure any and all orphans were safe when he coincidentally came across the kid he helped earlier that day in the way of the group of pirates. When one noticed them, he went in for the kill when a metal hand got in his way. Metal golem hand. Right, Kid yelled as his right hand was engulfed in metal, creating a hand shape. A fruit user, interesting. Killer said. The zombie-like man then blew a fireball at Kid, which he blocked with his golem hand. Kid was shocked to see the metal melt at the fire's touch. You should leave now while you're still alive, Killer said. He then was in front of Kid with hook blades that dug into Kid's face a little before he backed off. You had your chance, Killer stated. Kid then yelled, I barely even had time to move, asshole. While blood dripped over his eye, Killer stared and then ducked when a crescent-shaped attack flew through the air and impacted his crew except for the zombie. If I'm your friend, you should let me help you out at least, Kid. Naruto said as his arm was smoking. Another fruit user. What's his power? Killer thought as he saw the boy's cape lined with stars. Think how Blackbeard's powers seep into his coat. I'll take out headgear, you get the zombie. Kid nodded while he reformed his metal hand. Kid vs. Zombie. After finishing his hand, Kid went for a slam, but the zombie moved pretty fast and dodged it. Kid smirked in annoyance. You're pretty good, he said begrudgingly as the zombie opened his mouth to shoot fire. Not wanting a repeat of last time, Kid jumped out of the way and repelled the golem fist to try and hit the zombie, but a quick fire stream stopped the attack. Because of the fire though, the zombie didn't see Kid by him and got clocked in the face for it and sent into a wall, making it crumble. Kid laughed at his misfortune until he in turn got flame kicked in the side and was pretty sure he had a broken rib from it and a second-degree burn. He's strong, stronger than me by a little, but with a good enough opening, Kid thought as he saw metal beams from the broken wall and raised one up. The zombie looked down on the pale teen. Any last words? He asked. Yeah, actually, heads up, Kid said and moved his hand. The zombie was then met with a metal beam against his head, knocking him out. Don't mess with me, you douchebag. Kid then fell over from exertion. Naruto vs. Killer. Before your death, tell me your name, Killer said to his fellow blonde, Uzumaki D. Naruto. Was all that was said before they clashed. Peculiar, you're holding my blade back with your forearm. How? I'm using my powers to make a thin barrier around it so it won't cut me, Naruto replied to Killer's question as they broke off. Killer then saw energy gather in Naruto's forearm area. Spatial rend. The same crescent then raced toward Killer, who looked up to see Naruto and got kneed to the face. In the process though, he got a shallow cut on Naruto's chest area, creating mild pain for the boy. Naruto then used his time powers to speed himself up, delivered about 20 punches to Killer before getting cut in the legs, almost making him collapse. You're quite skilled, would you consider joining my crew? Killer questioned the bleeding blonde. Not on your life, was his answer. Sigh, such potential wasted. Killer then rushed in to finish him off when Naruto sprang up, latched onto Killer, creating a barrier around his forehead. He delivered a headbutt that left Killer's ears ringing. He was so disoriented he didn't see Naruto come in with his arm charged again. Spatial rend X. He sliced his arm in an X shape over his chest, rocketing them at Killer, who took the brunt and fell over, and if his mask was off you'd see his eyes rolled into the back of his head, symbolizing he was knocked out. Killer's crew then took their captain and the first mate back to their ship cursing Naruto and Kid's name. The next day. Gee Mr. Thanks for the dinghy, now I can get to the next island. Naruto beamed at the boat seller. Well, it's all thanks to you and Kid that we're safe, I wish we weren't so mean-spirited to him. After hearing his tale, it turns out we're the bad ones. Don't worry about it, you were just misinformed by the person you shunned. Naruto deadpanned at the end, earning a sweat drop from the man. Minutes before departure. I'm the captain and I say we're leaving now. Naruto said he wanted to see the next island already. Hey, just shut up, we may never come back here again. As crappy as it was home. Kid said, sighing as he walked toward his captain in their dinghy. He was surprised to see the townsfolk there. What the hell do you want? Wanna get your licks in before I go? Kid asked until he saw them all bow and ask for forgiveness. Kid accepted, then the orphans showed up with Trisha. Goodbye Kitty, we'll miss you. The kids then handed Kid a badly drawn picture of him. What the hell is this? It looks nothing like me. His yell scaring the kids, but he took it anyway and muttered a thanks as he and his captain took off. Somewhere. So where are we going? Kid asked. To that island over there. The blonde captain said. Kid raised an eyebrow. Why? He asked. Because I don't have a map, and I'm hungry, we can't just keep catching fish to eat, we need real food. Naruto said. As they neared the island they noticed it looked like a mound of spaghetti with a fork-shaped rock formation protruding out of the mound. They also noticed a sign that read, Welcome to Lean Cuisine Island. Are we there yet? Said the cape-wearing captain as he and his first mate continued to row towards the spaghetti plate-shaped island. No, we're not there yet. Why are you such a whiny captain? Geez, the pale teen replied to the blonde. Well, I'm sorry if I'm excited about going to a new island, especially with a name like Lean Cuisine Island. I mean, it's bound to have a ton of food and some good cooks for the crew. The captain said excitedly. Kid just sighed. I don't know why we need a cook so early on anyways, we've been doing fine on our own. Kid stated nonchalantly. Naruto decided to elaborate. We need a cook because we can't survive on caught fish for our entire journey, and it's better to get one now than whoosh. Did you hear that? The captain and first mate looked around to see a ton of boats of all shapes and sizes rushing toward the island at speeds only seen in anime. Wonder what the rush is about. Kid stated as his captain gaped behind him. Start rowing. He screamed. Kid, becoming confused, looked behind himself to see a giant pink ship headed toward their dinghy with Bonnie's Foods printed onto the main sail. Not only that, but it seemed to be running the fleeing ships down on purpose. After witnessing this, Kid picked up the rowing with his captain in an attempt to outrun the ship. Speed it up, Kid, it's gaining on us. I'm rowing as fast as I can. The two argued. Wait, I have an idea. Naruto then stopped rowing and crouched down in the dinghy as it started to change into a black color, with what looked like stars. Not only the dinghy changed though, Kid and Naruto took on the same color scheme. The ship was then upon them, and as all hope seemed lost, the dinghy and its two passengers phased through the hull and appeared in the storage of the ship. Whoa, what the hell was that? How are we in the ship? Kid asked, amazed at the sudden change in scenery. I used my Logia fruit powers to phase us through, but the problem is it takes a lot of effort to do. The captain explained with a little blood leaking out of his nose from the exertion used to get them inside the ship. The duo then silently walked up the stairs to see who was the one steering. Upon reaching the top of the stairs they saw a pink-haired woman at the helm, seemingly enjoying the carnage she was inflicting on the boaters that were unfortunate enough to be in her way. Out of the way, men, or get run over by the greatest emasculator on this island, Jewelry Bonnie. Said the now identified Jewelry Bonnie. At the woman's proclamation, both of her stowaways of the male gender paled. In Kid's case, he became see-through. Okay, how about we sneak back downstairs, grab the dinghy, and get the hell out of here? Naruto said in panic of what could happen to them while on this ship as his first mate nodded quickly. Both of the pirates ran back down to the hold, grabbed their dinghy and hightailed it back up. Just as they seemed home free, Naruto stopped at the top of the stairs, seeing his death in clothing that was way too small for her, he might add. Hey, what's the hold up there? Kid called up to his frozen captain until he heard her voice. What the hell do you think you're doing on my ship? The owner yelled at them. We are so dead. They thought simultaneously as she started cracking her knuckles. Sorry, mister. Naruto thought as he flung the small boat at her. What the hell, man, that will only make her madder. Kid said worriedly. It's a price I'm willing to take, now come on. Naruto said as they both started running but abruptly stopped after 2 steps. Hey kid, how are we gonna get off the ship? The cape wearer deadpanned. I haven't the damnedest clue, he replied. They then noticed that the woman was upon them. So you think it's funny to throw boats at me, huh? She asked threateningly. She then delivered a punch to each of their cheeks that sent them flying. Lean Cuisine Island. Luckily for both devil fruit users, they landed on Lean Cuisine Island, though it was head first in the dirt, but they survived their encounter nonetheless. Ow. Well, at least we're alive, the captain said cheerfully until he was bopped over the head by his subordinate. You idiot, you're lucky we didn't land in the ocean, he yelled, then noticed the stare from the people. What the hell are you looking at? Kid yelled. He never enjoyed being stared at in his own village. He wasn't gonna let these guys do it. After their landing fiasco, the 2 pirates walked down the dirt path trying to find a decent place to eat, but none of the restaurants stuck out to them. That is until they smelled something really good coming from one and rushed in without reading the sign that clearly said, Bonnie's Foods. Bonnie's Foods. Inside the restaurant there was a vast amount of people eating there, making the 2 realize that this was a pretty popular place. Wow, this place is booming. Naruto stated the obvious as they took seats at the counter. What can I get for you two? Asked an old man with gray hair and glasses on his green eyes. I want a miso ramen if you please. Guess who? A steak well done. Kid asked. All right, be right back. After eating their food they kept eating more and more as the day went on. Wow, you eat almost as much as my daughter, a couple more plates and you'd beat her record. The man's name they learned during their meal was Peter Bonnie. They felt as if they had heard that last name before but shrugged it off. So how do you plan on paying for all of this anyway, gentlemen? That statement made both pirates freeze while eating their food. They whispered to each other, we are pirates, we could just leave without paying. Kid stated, well yeah, but he was so nice about asking it wouldn't seem right, the captain said in defense. Sighing, the captain did the responsible thing, we can't pay. Peter simply rubbed his chin, all right, I suppose you could work off your debt for a week. My daughter will show you the ropes, she's been working here since she was a child. Thud, looks like she's here already. Bonnie, show our temporary workers the ropes, would you? Peter said as he went in the back. The 2 pirates turned to see the woman who sent them here on the Knuckle Express. The 3 just gaped at each other while pointing, it's you. They all shouted. Wait a sec. Kid, we're in Bonnie's Foods right now. The blonde pointed out. Took him long enough, didn't it? Damn, was his simple reply. What the hell do you think you're doing in my dad's restaurant? The pinkett asked, anger clearly showing. Well, we're your new interns it seems, also sorry about stowing away on your ship. It was just that you were running people over and we didn't feel like dying today. Naruto said, shooting his grin at her. That grin made her feel strange, but Jewelry just shook it off, keeping an angry face on them. 3 days later. The 2 pirates had hated the past 3 days working at the family restaurant. This was mostly due to Jewelry's hostility towards them, as well as anyone of the same gender, but it was mostly because they couldn't do the simplest things without messing it up. Man, I bet Luffy doesn't have to deal with this stuff. Naruto said while handing out flyers to the restaurant because that seemed to be the only job they couldn't mess up. Ah, stop your whining, we only have to deal with this for 2 more days anyway. Kid stated while laying against a tree, you're one to talk, you aren't even working. The blue-eyed boy yelled indignantly. Kid just opened one eye and looked towards the restaurant to which they were currently employed to see Marines entering, and the one in front had flowers for some reason. Hey, look, it's some lackeys, should we hide? Kid questioned his captain, who just stared at the entering Marines discreetly. No, unless they mess with us directly, then I don't want to mess with them, he replied as he lied on the dirt in front of the tree as they both dozed off. 2 hours later, the pirates awoke from their power nap to find the windows of the restaurant broken and clear signs of a struggle in the atmosphere. The rookies walked in to find their temporary employer on the ground looking a bit roughed up. Old man, what happened? Naruto asked as Peter looked up at them. It was terrible, the Marines took her. The old-timer then began the tale. Flashback. Gov. Lieutenant Governor Iron Fist Full Body was in a good mood today. Why? Because he was on his way to a quaint restaurant on Lean Cuisine Island to swoon yet another girl in his arsenal. That's right, when I first saw Full Body he struck me as the kind of guy who would cheat and was a player. He was hoping to snag this jewelry Bonnie quite easily from how skimpy he would see her dress, as if she was begging for it. As he and his normal procession of underlings followed him into the eatery, he set his eyes on his prize. Hello my dear, I couldn't help but notice you from afar and just had to have you. Take these roses as a token of affection, Full Body said as he turned on his charm, not noticing her obvious scowl. Well, aren't you sweet? Jewelry said as she took the roses, then stuffed them back in his stitched face, which shocked the Marines and patrons alike at her actions. Your kind make me sick, you know that. Men are awful people, the lot of them. Now get out before I kick your asses out. The gluttonous woman yelled. The lieutenant didn't take his first rejection very well, which was apparent from his angry face. Men, arrest this woman for assaulting a naval officer. The men, not wanting to anger their superior anymore, complied and rushed at her. Upon entering her proximity, all the Marines turned into children. Impossible, a fruit user in the East Blue, it's unheard of. The iron-fisted man said in disbelief. Of course they had sea stone handcuffs for this occasion, but they never expected to have to use them. Is this the best the Marines can do? And we trust you to protect us from pirates, she said, lording over them. That is, until a Marine that was outside of her range slapped the cuffs on her. I couldn't resist, rendering her powerless. Once again couldn't resist. For your offense you will be imprisoned in the naval base stationed here, Full Body said smugly. Peter tried to put up a fight to save his daughter, though it was a futile effort. End flashback. After hearing the tale, the pirate had stern faces turned, and headed out of the eatery. We'll get her back for you, old man, the captain said seriously. Why would you do this for me? The father asked, genuinely confused as to why pirates would even care. Well, it's because we still work for you for 2 more days, and this would qualify as working for you, the flame-haired teen answered, and with that they ran off. Naval Base. Currently in the naval base was Captain Smoker with his subordinate Tashigi to see a supposed high-profile pirate, but he had his suspicions on this matter. Full Body, I hope this isn't some hoax. I don't like to be called for nothing, the consistently stern Marine said to the lieutenant. Trust me, Captain Smoker, she's a danger. She bears the power of some undetermined fruit. She could use it to transform powerful figures into snot-nosed children, or even drooling seniors. Full Body said worriedly, hoping the captain didn't stress the matter, and take the bitch that refused him away. Perhaps he's right, Smoker. She could prove dangerous if in contact with the warlords, or even the admirals, Tashigi said while talking to a random Marine. Tashigi, put your damn glasses on, the irate captain said to his ensign, who started apologizing left and right. Boom. Did you hear that, Captain? The clumsy woman asked her superior, who just furrowed his brow, which was the only answer she needed as she got in her sword stance. Hey, are you here? A loud voice was heard, until a resounding crack was heard. You idiot, don't tell them who we're looking for. Now they're gonna up defenses around her. A second voice was heard that was more irate, while the first voice mumbled about not hitting the captain, or something to that effect. Then 2 new faces passed by the Marines, and both weren't Marines by their clothes. The blonde one stopped suddenly and backtracked to the group. Hey, do you guys know where a pink-haired girl is? She has a bit of a temper towards all males. He asked them nonchalantly. So what if we do? Smoker asked. We need to free her, for her dad. After all, we work for the guy for TWMMPH, Naruto explained, till Kid covered his mouth and ran. Were you dropped on your head as a baby, or something? Geez. Seriously, you're giving away our whole reason for being here. Kid chastised until he saw smoke. You're obviously a part of that woman's crew, if you are here to save her. The captain stated as if he knew everything. No way. Her dad wants her back, so we're bringing her back. Though if her attitude changes, she would be a shoo-in for our cook. Naruto said, rambling on and on. While this was going on, Kid left him there, and went for a swing, but was surprised to find he had turned to smoke. The next thing Kid knew, he was knocked away by Smoker's jute. Ah, what the hell, a Logia type 1, hate those. Eustace yelled in the air angrily. Kid, I want you to go ahead and get Bonnie, I'll take care of Smokey here, the blue-eyed teen said as his cape took on the look of the night sky, showing he was prepped for a fight. Kid nodded to his captain and rushed past Smoker, who didn't move, deciding to take out the captain of this ragtag pirate crew. Naruto vs. Captain Smoker. Both of the men on opposite sides of the law stared each other down, in an attempt to find an opening. This is pretty sweet. You know, I always wanted to measure myself up to a powerful marine. You seem to be the real deal. Naruto said with a grin. The grin then faded as he rushed forward to punch his fellow captain, only to go right through him. Smoker then took his chance and swung his jute. Naruto stood there believing his Logia powers would protect him. To the blonde's surprise, it impacted him in the cheek, bruising it, and then got hit in the stomach. What the hell, you hit me? What's that thing made out of? The confused teen asked. It's made out of sea stone. This stone radiates the same energy as the ocean does, making devil fruit users feel as if they've fallen into the ocean. Smoker explained. Damn, I don't have any of that on me. How am I supposed to win if I can't hit him? The pirate, though his cape flowing behind him, he then looked towards his cape and thought, I can use my spatial manipulation the moment my attack is about to hit in order to have him solid, and I have the perfect way to do it too. He inwardly smirked at his idea. Naruto stood, and rubbed his sore cheek as he stared intently at Smoker. You should just give up, kid. There's no way you can beat me at your skill level. Smoker said in a, no chance, kind of voice. You say that just because I don't have a bounty yet, but after this I'll have one. After all, beating a captain will do that to you. The boy chuckled at Smoker's irked face. And how do you plan on accomplishing this? He asked the no-name pirate. Like this, Naruto said as he used his time distortion to speed himself up, in order to get inside of the white-haired captain's guard. He then released a haymaker to his temple that didn't go through him. This shocked Smoker because it was the first time he had been hit since eating the plume fruit. How did you do that? You couldn't possibly posse's hockey? He asked, while the pirate held a confused look on his face. Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about, I'm just here to get that troublesome woman. He said plainly. Smoker went on the offensive after this. He changed his arm into a snake made of smoke and lunged it at Naruto, who dodged it, and in return he sent a spatial rend at Smoker. The captain of the Marines avoided it with only a minor cut on his leg. As he rose, he was met with a knee to the face, sending him into the air. Using his powers, Smoker halted himself and rushed at the blonde. He took out his jute and nailed him in the leg hard enough that he believed he broke it. OWW. You son of a bitch, that seriously hurts. Damn it. Naruto screamed in agony. He wouldn't be able to stand up for long on his bum leg. I need to finish this now. Naruto thought as he wobbly got up. HNN, you obviously can't go on, you should give it up now. Smoker said, underestimating the caped pirate. That's where you are wrong, Smokey. I still have some tricks left, hope to fight you again though. The pirate said, confusing the marine. Suddenly, Naruto was in front of Smoker using his time abilities to speed up his punches to the point that it looked like he had multiple fists. Fast forward barrage, the blonde called out as he pummeled the smoking captain until he saw him lose consciousness. My name is Naruto D. Uzumaki the space pirate, and don't forget it. He screamed as he limped in Kid's direction. Earlier, after leaving his captain behind, Kid immediately ran through every hall of the base searching for the temperamental pink-haired cook. Where the hell is she? I was so sure that she'd be around here. Kid said, hearing the explosions of his captain's fight, and shuddered along with the rest of the building at the fight's sheer magnitude. Damn, Naruto must be serious about this Smoker guy. Kid continued his sprint when he came across that swordswoman that was hanging around the Navy captain standing in front of Bonnie's cell. Hey, lady, would you mind getting out of the way? I have to get that girl behind per captain's orders. Kid said, trying the polite approach first, before beating her up. No, you pirates can't have her. I may not agree with the lieutenant's reasons for imprisoning her, but if you pirates want her, she is obviously important to you. Tashigi replied. Kid sighed at her. I was hoping to get this done the easy way. He deadpanned. Suddenly Tashigi was upon him, taking slash after slash at the pirate, who dodged them effortlessly and jumped back. Listen, lady, you're way out of your league fighting me. Try again in a few years. Kid stated, picking his ear clean while ignoring the fuming woman. Take me seriously, damn it. I worked hard to get this position, and I won't allow no name pirate berate me. Tashigi screamed at him. You think that means anything to me? Power to you for gaining your position through hard work and all, but it means nothing if you don't have the power to back it up. Oh, and FYI, we're not gonna be no names after this little skirmish, the flame-haired youth explained. Kid then activated his powers, and took Tashigi's sword, Autumn Rain, into his hands to examine it in mock interest. Give that back, that sword is going to help me achieve my dream. The girl yelled. Kid barely took notice, and smirked inwardly. So Marines have dreams too, huh? I have to say it's surprising. I mean, after all, you guys kill dreams. Kid spoke calmly, thinking of any and all pirates who might have set out on the sea for adventure rather than plunder. I wouldn't expect a pirate to understand. You all are just monsters. Tashigi denied Kid's claims. That's when she was punched in the stomach and passed out. Kid looked down on her and sighed, dropping Autumn Rain by the ensign. He sat in front of the cell, and peered at its occupant. Why are you helping me? She asked. Kid just scratched his head and looked back at her. Well, your dad asked us to save you, and we work for him for 2 more days, so we had to. Plus, if you decide to stop being a bitch, my captain wants you as our cook. Kid replied. Bonnie didn't take kindly to that tidbit of information. You think I'd actually want to join your crew? My mother was taken by a pirate crew of all males. The Navy eventually found her, and she cursed them all with her dying breath. She explained in an angry tone. Ironically, Naruto showed up limping towards the two with an angry expression on his scarred face. Ain't that a bunch of bull? Do you really believe that she wanted you to hate all males for the rest of your life? Not all men are the same. Take us for example. Even if it's an obligation, we're risking our lives to save you, so now pull your head out of your ass and come on. Naruto said his speech confidently with dramatic lighting shining on him. Somehow, Bonnie simply stared at him as he spoke to her. She couldn't deny that they risked their lives to get her. Naruto even fought a captain, and got his leg broken to save her. All she could do is look down in shame for her short-sightedness at only one instance. Alright, let's go. The girl said as Kid looked surprised that his captain's speech actually worked, and his captain gave a large grin. Good, because I can't stand anymore, he said, then immediately fell flat on his face, making his first mate laugh while Bonnie sighed. After using his powers to free Bonnie, the trio made their escape, dodging any Marines, and defeating any that got too close for comfort. Wait, I want to say something, Naruto said, confusing the two supporting him, but they complied. Men, you shall remember this as the day you almost caught Captain, Space Pirate, Uzumaki D. Naruto OWWW. He yelled from the hit that his cook gave him, "Now's not the time to be gloating," she said as she repeatedly clocked him, until he was knocked out. That's when they made their escape. Bonnie's Foods 2 days later. After escaping from the base, the trio of pirates made it back to the restaurant to lay low, and get Naruto some simple first aid for his leg, but they needed to get a professional to patch it up. The 2 remaining days mostly involved helping out Peter fix the restaurant up as well as pack for their departure. "So we're going to use your ship now, right?" the crippled captain asked his new cook. Bonnie nodded in the affirmative, hiding her blush. It seemed that whenever she was alone with him she would have this weird feeling in her chest, the heart to be exact, and act all flustered. "Yeah, I mean we all can't fit on that dinghy you have, right?" she said as more of a statement. "True, thanks Bonnie, we owe you one," he said. "Are we ready to go yet? This place is way too boring for me now," Kid said, having been there the whole time. "You could always leave, pale face." Bonnie shot back to the first mate. "No way, one. I'm in charge of you, and I left you would have jumped our captain's bones already," Kid stated as he hit the floor with a large bump on his head from the Pinket's punch. Peter then showed up to see his daughter off, with obvious signs of tears on his face. "Well, you're finally leaving the nest, my little jewel," the father said with sadness as his daughter flushed in embarrassment at his nickname, and her crewmates snickered under their breath at her misfortune. "Dad, seriously, I'm not 2 anymore. I'm grown up. I know, but I can't help it. You remind me of your mother so much, always being so independent and standing on your own. You boys listen, I want you to treat her right, and keep her safe or I'll find you," Peter said seriously to the pirates, who just nodded their heads as they set sail and waved goodbye to the old restaurant owner. Currently, the pirates were lounging around the ship, but if one were to look closely they would see the captain and first mate lying down on deck with their heads between the railing, with depressed looks on their faces. "Dude, I thought getting a cook was supposed to prevent us from starving," Kid said to his fellow hungry man. Soon after leaving Lean Cuisine Island, the two realized how much their cook could eat. She practically cleaned the galley out hours after departure, and now they were starving again. "How the hell was I supposed to know that she ate more than we did? I just wanted a cook. Damn it, my leg is killing me. I'm sure I'm close to overdosing on painkillers," Naruto said in a weary voice. "What kind of captain are you? This entire time you to have been lying around, and I've been steering the ship," Jewelry said as she finished munching on an apple in front of the starving pirates, that screamed in anguish at her cruelty. "Please tell me we're at the next island so we can get some food. I think I lost some weight since leaving," the pale teen screamed to the heavens, hoping someone would answer his prayer. "You're lucky the next island is coming into view right now, and it's the perfect place for Naruto to get his leg fixed," the woman of the crew said as the trio looked out to the plain-looking island. "Dock Isle. Wow, this island is very sterile," Kid started and Jewelry finished as they looked at the island they were on, which was basically all white and clean without a single speck of dirt anywhere. "Well, it should be pretty easy to find a doctor here, after all it's full of a bunch of stiffs," Naruto stated, wanting his leg fixed right away and move on to the next island. After walking around for a while, the pirate crew came across a strange building with panda ears and spots on it. "Weird place, maybe we should," Kid started until his captain limped ahead into the funny-looking building, forcing his crew to follow. Dock laws. Once inside they saw their captain causing a ruckus, yelling for a doctor to fix his leg. "Excuse me, could you please stop yelling in my clinic? You're disturbing patients," a teen in a black-sleeved yellow hoodie and jeans with panda spots on them chimed in. Taking in his appearance, they saw that he had black hair under his fur hat that also had panda spots with sideburns sticking out from the bottom of it, and gray dreary-looking eyes along with a small goatee on his chin as well as tattoos on both arms with the word, "death," being spelled on the fingers of his left hand. "Wow, you're so cool looking. Are you a doctor?" Naruto asked, gawking at the mysterious teen. "Well, thanks for the compliment, Mr. Naruto D. Uzumaki, the next pirate king." Naruto exclaimed loudly, not heeding the teen's words of being quiet. Let's just treat you so you can get out of here, you're ruining business, he said in a polite way. After giving Naruto a cast for his leg, he decided to check on the others. He and Kid didn't seem to get along well either. If Kid's refusal for the treatment of his broken ribs, zombie fight, was anything to go by. So what's your name anyway? Jewelry asked the teen doctor. Law, Trafalgar Law. The now identified Law beamed. You're a pretty good doctor, why don't you join us, we could use you on our crew. Naruto asked, acting like it was by magic that Law fixed his leg. Nah, I'm not really a pirate Y type of guy, the first have everything I could want here. Besides, what good could I do, you all look like monsters. Law stated, but stared at Bonnie the most when saying monster, causing all the men to laugh, which of course led to all three of their faces on the floor. The men returned to their standing positions and they all just conversed for a bit, that is until a rather loud and boisterous Russian-sounding voice was heard. Outside, King Wapol demands that you hand over all of your medical supplies. Now, a strange man with wavy lips wearing a green and blue costume demanded while aiming a large bow at innocent bystanders while another was throwing what appeared to be afros at people. He was wearing a orange and white cloak with afros at each end. He also has a large afro on his head, and a beard. Hey, what the hell is going on here? Who are you weirdos? Kid asked, looking at these people strangely, especially that guy mad out of tin plating. From what he could see, he was eating a house. What's it to you? The fat man questioned the pirate. You're eating a town, I'm pretty sure that we have a right to know why. Law said while holding a nodashi over his shoulder with an oval-shaped hand guard coated with short white fur, and sheathed in a black scabbard with white X's from the top to the bottom, and with a small piece of red rope tied near its opening. King Wapol's doctors are in need of more supplies, and this island happened to have a plethora of doctors to steal from. The Afro man explained as he terrorized the citizens with his afros. Hey, you idiots, my man, I mean my captain, is healing on this island, so get lost. Bonnie yelled as she caught herself from her little slip. So, who gets who? Kid asked, but he didn't wait for an answer. I'll take the fatty, Bonnie you take that afro guy, and Panda Boy can have the checkerboard. Is that alright with you? The first mate asked the new guy. Law actually frowned at Kid for bossing him around. I'm fine with it, but never tell me what to do again. Law said as he faced Chess while flipping Kid off in the process. I really don't like that guy. Kid muttered in annoyance. Law versus Chess. You're a fool to oppose King Wapol. He'll eat you like yesterday's dinner, the weird-lipped man said with a hint of arrogance in his voice. Yeah, well, this isn't his kingdom, so I have no obligation to treat him with any respect, he said in his polite tone while unsheathing his nodashi. Chess quickly drew his bow and fired an arrow at the doctor, to which he blocked with his sword. Law then rushed at the villain and took a swing at his head, but missed and almost got hit by the bow. After back-flipping away from Chess, he saw the man ready his bow, and smirked because as soon as the arrows were fired they disappeared. The arrows just vanished, and like magic where they vanished, Law appeared in their previous location, surprising Chess so much that he didn't keep his guard up, and ended up with a slash across the chest, finishing him off. This isn't possible. Chess yelled as he bled on the ground. Yeah, well, now you should say improbable. Law said coolly as he sheathed his sword. Bonnie versus Kuromarimo. Do you really believe that you can beat me? The Afro man said as he laughed at Jewelry, believing that a little girl had no chance against him. You should realize that no man can ever beat an angry woman. Bonnie told the strange man as he used the two afros on his gloves and launched them at the busty woman. Static cling attack, he yelled. When they came into contact with her, all they did was attach to her clothes. You're kidding me, right? Is that all you can do? Bonnie said as she just pulled them off. She had to admit they felt weird, but only an idiot would have a panic attack from it. The Pinkett then rushed at the man who stood in place, believing any hit from her would do little. That is until her punch sent him through a wall. I can't have her be weak, people. Remember Super Crew, what the hell did you do to me? He screamed with a broken and bleeding nose. Calm down, it was just a punch. She answered nonchalantly like her captain would have. Why are you protecting this insignificant island? You guys are pirates too, aren't you? Kuromarimo asked while tried and failed to stop his bloody nose. We are, but our captain is in that clinic and we can't have you just killing off people for nothing. She said in a stern voice as she rushed at him. In response to this, the former magistrate of the Drum Kingdom threw spiked afros at her. These did little to deter her from her charges. She took one in the shoulder and knee. Bonnie was then upon him and delivered a hard clothesline to his neck, sending him through the next 2 walls. Naruto is going to love me for this, I can see it now. She squealed girlishly, not noticing Law standing 5 feet away from her, just staring as she dreamed of who knows what with her captain. Kid vs. Wapol. How did you lowly pirates defeat my top men? The fat man asked with a hint of fear and snot coming out of his nose. Man, you are pathetic. Kid said, feeling pity on this guy. Well, not that much is evident from the gathering of metal behind him. Repel, he yelled as the gathered metal was launched at Wapol. The man just opened his mouth and ate it all. That's just sick, you know that? The weirded out pirate pointed out. His eyes then bugged out of his head as he saw a cannon pop out of Wapol's mouth and fired a cannonball at him. I should feel insulted by fighting you. Kid said, disappointed as he halted the projectile and flung it back at him. Wapol screamed as it blew up in his face. You're beginning to anger me. Why don't you leave before I eat the clinic that your captain is in? The corrupt king said, hoping that the threat would make the pirate back off. You think I'd let you do that? Kid said as he slowly walked towards the temporary pirate and created his golem hand. You cannot do this to the king. Yeah, well, I'll apologize if he shows up. Kid said, smashing his golem hand on Wapol with enough force to create spiderweb cracks on the ground. We'll remember this, you know, good pirates, my word is absolute. Wapol yelled as he was carried away by a limping Chess and Kuromarimo. Kid just turned away and saw that Bonnie was bleeding and Law was fixing her up. Geez, did you guys take care of everything? I felt that shockwave inside. Naruto said as he walked outside with a crutch. That's when a voice drew the group out of their musings. Hey, are all of you pirates? He asked. The smart people decided to hightail it out of there, but the captain stayed. So what if we are? He asked, until a flash interrupted him. You're the pirate that Captain Smoker was talking about. I may not have gotten all of you, but you'll be hunted now. The obvious Marine said as he ran. Great, now you're gonna get bounty, and we'll be in the thick of it. Kid said with a facepalm. Law sighed as well. I guess I'm with you guys now, I can't be endangering everyone here. He decided. Yeah, finally a doctor, a forced member is the best kind. Naruto said as he danced around as best he could with a crutch while Bonnie was sighing longingly at him. Just stay out of my way, panda boy, Kid threatened. Oh ho, Mr. First Mate, feeling threatened by the new guy. Keep an eye on that position, I might just take it from you. Law shot back, and if you looked close enough you would see lightning between Law and Kid's eyes, as the crew of 4 moved toward the ship. Next day, Law settled in well on the ship, and the new member had a great welcome like all new members got. A great party with plenty of food and grog. Man, that was an awesome party last night. Now I'm bored again, Naruto said and got a punch to the head for his troubles. We just got left an island we probably won't find another for, there's an island with smoke rising from it. Kid pointed out to the others, who soon gathered to see. Well, we are not going there, so let's just adventure. Naruto said, cutting her off as he took the helm and steered to the island, with his unwilling cook, and battle-ready doctor and first mate. Island. Upon arrival the crew of the galactic pirates saw only forest and nothing else, meaning it was supposed to be uninhabited, but what really stuck out were the fires all around. Maybe we just missed it. Bonnie said, a little frightened of what could be here, but all the men of the crew just surveyed the area slowly with hard looks, knowing that whoever did this would pay. As they were about to leave they heard a yell and dashed to its origin. Why, we haven't done anything to you to deserve this, a man with a large green afro, black beard and was trapped in a treasure chest. I've told you before that you didn't do anything, I just felt like it. A man with raven black hair said as he kicked the man. Hey, what the hell is your problem, duck butt? Naruto yelled, not at all liking this guy. How dare you, you no-name loser. I am Sasuke Uchiha, a pirate from the elemental countries, the now named Sasuke said, thoroughly shocking Naruto. You're from my home? He asked. Naruto held no love for his home, it was so bad. According to his mother, it was the reason he was raised in Fuchsia. She had said they were going to use himself to sire more namakazes for the village. Yeah, so? He asked, clearly annoyed. That's when a pink-haired girl came through and dropped what looked like a rooster fox. The galactic pirates all glared at her, while the box man looked sad. Look, Sasuke, won't this be the cutest coat? She asked in a giddy voice. Hey, why don't you put that creature down, bitch, you know, before you get hurt? Kid said, rage in his voice clear. Who are you to boss me around, you weakling? She stated as Kid just stared at her with critical eyes. I swear if she says something like that to me again, she's going down. He thought, why don't you and your band of misfits run along and She never finished as she was struck in the gut by Kid and she went flying through several trees. HNN, it appears you have some strength, Sasuke said as he looked mildly interested. How could he do that to Sakura? She was trained by Tsunade, he thought. You should leave. Naruto said as his cape blew in an intimidating fashion as he stared at Sasuke while Kid hung back, and Law and Jewelry checked on Gaiman. Why should I? He asked. Because you're out of our league, why don't you gain some experience out here before fighting me? Naruto said, bored of the conversation, and turned his back on him. Sasuke became enraged at being talked down to and charged at Naruto, who let his futile attack pass through him, and punched him in the face so hard he broke a few teeth in his nose. Ah! He yelled. See what I mean? You can't even take one of my punches. From seeing how you act, you like to be strongest, so why don't you go to the Grand Line and gain some strength so you can have a chance next time? He said as he helped his crew with Gaiman as Sasuke gathered Sakura and returned to their ship. Next day. Are you sure you don't need anything, shrub guy? Naruto asked Gaiman, who shook his head. No, you've already done enough. I have to thank you guys again, and Blondie, I hope you and your brother make it to the Grand Line. He exclaimed, though not voicing his concern about Sasuke actually gaining the strength to oppose Naruto as he saw his new friends leave. The band of pirates were all sitting around their captain, who was seen to be working on something. Alright, you guys, what do you think of our new pirate flag? Naruto said while holding up a crudely drawn skull that looked like his face with a black hole in the background, forsaking the traditional crossbones of pirate flags. Well, it would be awesome, if not for your apparent lack of artistic sense. Law said in his ever-polite tone that only made it more painful to his captain, who was seen slumped to the ground in despair with a rain cloud hanging above his head. Well, excuse me for trying to liven things up in here. I mean, you guys have been sulking ever since we left Gaiman's Island and met Sasuke and that girl. We just have to get over it. After all, we'll be running into people like that a lot more in the Grand Line. Naruto said to the crew, who looked angry at the remembrance of Sasuke's crew. Those guys were scum, especially that girl. If I ever see them again, I just might kill them. Kid said in obvious irritation as he despised those two. The brute's opinion aside, why didn't you kill them? We could have, they were weak enough. Law asked, wondering why his captain kept them alive even though he really wanted to kill them. I left them alive because I want to see Sasuke squirm as he finds out how large the world actually is. He has to realize he isn't the strongest here. Hopefully he won't even make it to the Grand Line, where the real monsters are. So we let them go so they can die on their own. Nice. The first mate said with a grin. Alright, enough sulking, time for food. Naruto said as all the male members turned their heads in the direction of the cook. Don't look at me, you all ate the food we got from Gaiman. She said as the boys' sweat dropped. We only ate it all because you ate everything else. They all stated, which earned them a punch to their heads. A couple hours later. The three strongest members of the crew were currently fishing, though they weren't at the fishing poles and lounging around the ship. I said fish, you idiots, what if something actually bites? Bonnie yelled at them as they lazily looked back up at her with bored expressions. Don't worry, nothing's gonna be biting anytime soon, and if something does, we'll get up to catch it. Naruto said then, as if summoned by his words. A large sea king came out of the water. You see what I mean, you have to watch what's going to bite. Bonnie said, hiding behind the mast as the fighters got ready. Quit worrying, will ya? You'll ruin our concentration. Kid said, preparing to fight. As they got ready to fight, another sea monster came out of the ocean and ate the other one. This new one looked a lot like a cow, though. It also didn't seem to notice them and re-submerged itself. The beast submerging caused the ship to tip over. Hang on, Naruto said, though he was comically not following his own advice, and fell overboard, making his crew's mouths hit the deck. You idiot, you can't swim. Kid said as he jumped in after his captain, forgetting that he couldn't swim either. Damn it, as the doctor of this ship, it's my duty to go after them. Law said as he pounded his fist to his chest and jumped in as well. Are all three of them idiots? Bonnie thought, surprised at the spectacle. Soon the waves stopped and the cook grabbed the fishing net and threw it in. After a couple minutes she felt them inside of the net and pulled them up. Why didn't you jump in after us? All three of them yelled at her. Because I'm not stupid, and I remember that I can't swim, unlike you idiots. She said matter-of-factly, it's the thought that counts, you know, but that is a good point. We all have devil fruit powers, so what if we fall overboard? We'll drown. We need swimmers, so if we do fall, someone can get us, but he has to be strong. Naruto said. Cool, a strong swimmer will come in handy. Law said as he took his hat off and started flicking the water off of it, right onto Kid, which made them break into a fight as the other two members sighed at their antics. Unknown Island. The crew was currently on course with a mysterious island that had a lot of trees from what they could see. Creepy. I think we should steer clear of this island. Bonnie said, a tiny bit scared, not that she would show it. No way, there's someone on that island. Maybe we could get them to join the crew. Naruto said, seeing the small one-man boat that the others saw as well, though Jewelry was the only one who examined the boat thoroughly and was frightened by its looks. The strange boat seemed to be a coffin with a black sail and green candles. Can we please turn back? There's no way a guy with that creepy a boat would join us. Jewelry pleaded to her captain in order to deter him from his scheme. No way. If he gives us trouble, then we'll beat him up and make him join. Naruto exclaimed with a grin as the other's sweat dropped and in Bonnie's case cried anime tears. As the group of pirates disembarked, they surveyed their surroundings as they trekked onward. Whoa, what do you think brought this down? Kid asked as he along with the others saw a huge tiger on the ground with a copious amount of blood on the ground from a slash wound. Come on, you guys. Can't we just go? Who could kill something like that? Bonnie asked, her fear quite apparent at this point, but to her ire Naruto, Kid, and Law raised their hands at her question, knowing full well they could easily have killed that tiger. I mean someone normal. She yelled at them, well, I apologize, Ms. Cook, but no one normal could slay a tiger this large. The calm reply came from none other than Trafalgar Law as she just sighed. Hey, what do you think you're doing on this island? A French-sounding voice asked as the pirates turned to address the man. The three smarter members paled at him while Naruto remained clueless. The man was tall and lean, he sported a short beard and sideburns. The man also had strangely colored yellow eyes, like a hawk's. He wore a wide-brimmed black hat decorated with a large plume, an open shirt with a red-violet collar and sleeves decorated with flower patterns showing his chest. He also had a black vest and cape, and white pants held up by a decorated belt and tucked inside large boots, and what stuck out the most was his large black sword with a guard in the shape of a cross. We were looking for someone with a coffin boat. Is it yours? Naruto asked as his crewmates just looked at him in shock. Naruto, do you know who that is? That's Dracul Mihawk, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and the world's greatest swordsman. Kid said with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Cool, I've heard about the warlords, so why did you decide to give up pirating and work for the Navy? Naruto asked Mihawk calmly. Despite the man's stature, it's none of your concern why I would join the world government. Now, why don't you small timers move along before you get hurt? The swordsman said as he turned his back on them. Bonnie, Kid, and Law didn't like being called small timers by anyone, but they felt that he could get away with it. For now, as they turned to leave, a spatial rend was flung at the warlord, who calmly ducked out of the way. No one talks to my crew that way, the captain said with a pissed off face. Hey, man, think of what you're doing here. He's a warlord, Law said in concern for his captain. So, you'd rather fight me for your crew than your honor? Mihawk asked the young man. After all, this teenager reminded him of that stretching boy he had met at the Barati. You're damn right, I could care less what you say about me, but I won't stand by and let you diss my friends. Naruto said as he took off Shank's cape in order to show he was serious about this fight. Naruto vs. Mihawk. Are you really ready to fight against me? Hawkeye said as he drew a small knife from his necklace and held it in front of himself. Yeah, I am. Enough talk, let's go already. Naruto said as he rushed at the swordsman. Spatial rend, the pirate said as he launched the attack at the former pirate, but to all of their surprise, Mihawk sliced the crescent-shaped energy projectile in two with his small knife. After that display, do you really expect to beat me? He said as he went to stab the pirate captain. Pause, Naruto said as he used his time powers to freeze Mihawk in place and proceeded to kick him in the face, making him go flying into a tree. It seems that you possess some skills after all. Mihawk said, intrigued that this pirate was able to hit him at all. There's plenty more where that came from, Naruto said as he ran forward and got inside the swordsman's guard but didn't expect to be stabbed by him. Fast, Naruto muttered out along with a bit of blood, but the captain showed his resolve as he still pulled off an attack even when he was still skewered. Fast forward barrage, he said as he unleashed his storm of punches upon the vampiric man whom had to dodge, which resulted him in leaving his knife in the boy. Fairly surprising, he's better than Straw Hat, that's for sure, and his crew is powerful from what I'm feeling. The warlord though, as he drew his black blade, Kokuto Yuru, from his back and entered a ready stance, fully prepared to seriously fight this upcoming pirate. Suddenly, the swordsman swung his sword at the air, and a giant wave of air rushed past the captain of the galactic pirates, or rather through him as the bladed air cut the Logia user in two. Damn, I almost got hit, Naruto screamed as he searched himself to ensure that he had all his limbs, without even realizing that he had been hit. You're very silly for a wanted pirate, Mihawk said as he swiftly moved behind the frantic teen and got a slash in on him, and he retaliated by rolling forward and brought his heel to Hawkeye's chin. Each time I get a hit on him, he counters with a hit of his own and vice versa. This fight is very interesting, especially against a rookie, the warlord thought, enjoying the new generation he's met so far, and inwardly smirked. You're pissing me off, you know that. Nova Punch, Naruto angrily said as he used his powers, ignite his fist and deliver a flame punch, to which Mihawk responded by rushing at him as well. As they passed each other, no visible damage was seen, until Naruto developed a slash across his chest and Mihawk had a burn mark in the shape of a fist on his. Hey, Naruto, you alright? Law asked as he rushed to his friend's side to help. Luckily the cut was shallow and would heal up. You did a good job, rookie, Hawkeye said in a praising tone as the downed pirate looked up at him. Thanks, I guess. Guys, help me up, we're leaving, Naruto said in a serious, sad tone. I've already lost to someone. How am I supposed to be the king of the pirates, if I can't even protect my friend's honor? The captain contemplated. He was broken from his musings when a voice sounded behind him. You said you were looking for a crew member, correct? Mihawk asked the crew. What's it to you? Kid asked. Because it seems that you have gained that new member, Hawkeye said with a smirk as the entire crew looked on with various emotions. Bonnie was crying because she wanted a normal member. Law was smiling since he'd have a sparring partner. Kid was smiling maniacally at getting another insanely strong guy on their crew, and Naruto was also grinning and immediately forgot the scuffle he got into with his new crew member. Alright, this is awesome, now we can head for the Grand Line. Naruto said before collapsing in pain from his newest wound. How would we get there? We can't navigate. Kid pointed out as Naruto frowned. We'll figure that out later. On board the ship, it's absolutely terrible, Hawkeye said as he surveyed his new captain's Jolly Roger, whom once again fell on the floor in despair as Bonnie comforted him. There, it's finished, Mihawk said as he held up a new flag with the same design only neater. How the hell did you make that? Naruto asked. I'm French, it's what we do, Hawkeye stated simply, as his captain's depression hit even lower and he was face first on the deck. Let's just go before I make a hole through the ship, Naruto said as Kid moved to pull up the anchor. He saw that same cow sea monster rushing at the ship. Hey, guys, you might want to grab onto something. The first mate yelled to his crewmates as soon as the monster rammed into the ship and started carrying it to who knows where. Cocoa Village, Arlong Park. You made our navigator cry, Luffy said with his rarely seen angry face on, and he was also missing his straw hat. HMMPH, you feeble poo mons really think you have a chance against us? Said a man with large kissy lips as he stood by a manta ray man in a karate gi, an octopus man, and a down blue-skinned shark-like man with a saw nose. On Luffy's side he had himself, a green-haired teen wearing an open blue t-shirt and was holding a sword with a white handle. Next to him was a blonde-haired teen with his hair covering his left eye wearing a fancy suit and shoes with a cigarette in his mouth, and finally in the back with buckling knees was a young man with a long nose wearing goggles and brown suspenders. These men were the Straw Hat Pirates under their captain, Straw Hat, Luffy. The swordsman was his first mate Roronoa Zoro, the blonde was his cook Sanji, and the long nose was his sharpshooter Usopp. Currently, these two forces were at odds over who would get a young thief by the name of Nami on their crew. While Arlong's crew would exploit her and keep her miserable, the Strafuts were going to treat her as a real friend and not just a tool. You fools really believe you have the advantage here. Don't you realize you're easily outnumbered? Hachi the octopus man said, it's never stopped us before. All the of them said, though Usopp said it a little shakily, brothers, attack these foolish poo. But the statement wasn't finished when a person screaming was heard. All of those present, Arlong pirates, Straw Hat pirates, and the rebelling villagers, looked to the pool in the middle of Arlong Park to see a ship being propelled by a jet stream of water toward their current location. Upon reaching the park, the cow monster crashed into the concrete, knocking itself out, and making the ship crash into the army of fish men and the building, but not before a passenger on the mysterious ship fell into the water. Whoa, hey, I think we're alive, a voice from the ship said. It seems you're right. For once. A lighter, more polite voice said as he and the first voice got ready to argue. A bop was heard, followed by a thud. Must you do that to silence them? A voice all the Straw Hats sans Nami knew all too well. Would you like to find out how effective it is firsthand? A feminine voice asked. That won't be necessary, the French voice said with the tiniest hint of fear in his voice. Good, now you three go find out where we are and get him out of the water, the girl's voice said as the three men were booted off the ship and landed on their heads. I'm going to kill her, Kid said as he shook his fist. Hush, it seems we have company, Law said as he looked to his left and right, seeing the abundant amount of people. It doesn't matter what they're doing, let's just get our captain out of the water, Hawkeye said, but was halted by Zoro yelling at him. What are you doing here? He asked, seeing the man who beat him effortlessly standing in front of him. If you must know, I've given up warlord status and joined this quaint little crew, he replied as he dove into the water. A couple seconds later, Mihawk re-emerged and had Naruto sputtering up water. Ah, thanks Hawk, I thought I was going to die, Naruto said after emptying his lungs of H2O. Hey, it's Naruto, Luffy said with a grin as Naruto realized just who it was that called out to him. Oh, hey Luffy, is this your crew or something? Naruto asked his brother. Yeah, hey guys, this is my brother. Luffy told his crew as they all had WTF faces after hearing that. Your brother? What brother? Sanji asked in disbelief that his captain had a brother, especially since Naruto had blonde hair and looked nothing like Luffy. I guess I forgot to tell you guys about him. Luffy said as Naruto fell to the ground. How could you? I told my crew about you. How come you can't talk about me? Naruto said as everyone's sweat dropped. Hey, who mans did you forget about us? Kurubi asked, angry about being ignored as the brothers reconciled. So, Luffy, what's with all the fish faces around here? Naruto asked his brother, who seemed to remember that they mermen were there just now. That's right, I need to kick that saw-nose's ass for making Nami cry. The straw hat wearing teen said as he pounded his fist into his open palm. Oi, are you messing with my brother Fish Face? Naruto asked with a glare aimed at Arlong as his three top officers prepped for a fight against the newcomers, and they did the same. We'll just have to bowl you over to get to Straw Hat then. Kurubi yelled as he rushed forward, intent on getting rid of this obstacle quickly. As he went for a punch, he was blocked by another fist which he tracked back to Kid. Ponytail, why don't you pick on someone your own size? He smirked as Kurubi grew angry that this poo man blocked his punch with one of his own without so much as a wince of pain. If you would like to die that badly, I'd be happy to oblige. The manta ray man said with an arrogant voice. That annoyed Kid, you really don't want to act arrogant around me. He started as the villagers' weapons all attached to his left arm, creating a moderate-sized golem hand. I've already met someone arrogant and he pissed me off so much that if I got the chance to, I'd kill him. Kid said as he used his magnetism powers to transfer the sharper weapons to the knuckles of his golem hand. Golem knuckle, is what was said as the big fist slammed into the fish man while stabbing him at the same time. After Kurubi's fast loss, the remaining Arlong pirates grew irate. How could you do that to Kurubi? Chu said as he gathered water in his mouth and shot it out as if it were a pistol. As soon as it reached Kid, one of the downed fish men took his place, making him take the shot instead. Sorry, but I can't have you injuring him. He's too reckless to begin with and I can't be wasting supplies on him. Law said as he took a step forward with his Nodashi almost out of its sheath. I didn't need your help, you know. Kid said as he sat down. Sure you didn't, Mr. First Mate. The doctor said as he faced Chu. You're in my way. Lipauritzer, he said as small droplets of water were propelled at the calm doctor, who easily blocked them all with his sword. Could you actually try and hit me, or was that your best? Law said in polite taunting manner, I'll show you my best. Chu replied as he started to suck in water from the pool and fired a huge water cannonball. Too bad I can't dodge or those villagers will get shot. Law smirked as he eyed a piece of rubble from the collapsed building. Room. Upon those words being said, the rubble switched places with the water ball, surprising all those present, and the doc kicked it right into the face of Chu, sending him through a wall. Whoops. Sorry about that. Don't know my own strength. Law said while chuckling. Arlong and Hachi just couldn't believe this. Their mates were just beaten by these no-name Kumans and way too easily as well. Alright, it's time for you to face the best of this crew aside from Arlong. Hachi said as he brandished 6 swords, one in each of his hands, which intrigued the swordsmen present. Hawkeye, Zoro, Yosaku, and Johnny. So you are a swordsman, let us see how good you are with those swords. Mihawk stated as he brought out his knife. Do you really think that small knife can stand up to my swords? The octopus man asked in disbelief as Hawkeye stared at him as his hat cast a shadow over his face. We shall see. He said as Hachi rushed in with his sword all pointed at him, resembling a pot. Octopus pot stance. Hawkeye responded by blocking him, but soon after Hachi opened his arms, which broke his defense. New Year's open body slam. The octopus man went for a cheap shot in a sword duel, which angered the greatest swordsman in the world as he seemingly recovered and walked behind him. When in a sword duel, you never resort to physical attacks. Hawkeye said as an X-shaped slash appeared on Hachi's torso and joined his comrades in the world of unconsciousness. Geez, guy, your men are crazy weak. Either that or we're just too strong. Naruto said, witnessing the fights his crew had got into and felt happy that they had no problems. You inferior whelp, how dare you take out all of my men? Arlong screamed out as his eyes looked murderously at the cape-wearing captain. I dare because you're messing with my brother and his crew, and I don't take kindly to that. Naruto said as he faced the fish man. Shark darts, Arlong yelled as he propelled himself forward in an attempt to skewer his opponent, but thanks to his Logia abilities it passed right through him. Is that all you can do? Are you just going to try and stab me with your nose? Naruto asked in a disappointed voice. I'll show you what I can do. Shark tooth drill. Arlong angrily yelled as he rotated at the captain, mouth open, trying to rip him to shreds. Too slow. Naruto said as he raised his fist and punched Arlong on the side of his head, making him slam onto the ground, knocked out. That kid just beat Arlong in a single move. A man with various stitches and a pinwheel on his head stared in disbelief. Wow. Naruto is super cool. Do you think I could do that to someone? Luffy asked his slightly older brother. 5 seconds, sure, but he'd have to be weak enough. Naruto told Luffy as the villagers started to celebrate. Until, hold everything. It seems that you pirates beat Arlong, now I won't have to share the berry with him, said a mouse-looking marine as he and his unit suddenly appeared. Berry? What berries is he talking about? Naruto asked as Luffy looked clueless. They're mine. An orange-haired girl stated as she gave Luffy's hat back. So, you stole the money from this cute girl. You're an evil man for someone in the Navy. Naruto stated as he critically looked at the man, missing Nami's blush at being called cute. As soon as Luffy heard that he stole Nami's money, he pounded the naval officer into the ground. You'll both pay for this, I'll make sure you're hunted down. Nezumi yelled as he swam away with his unit. I was already being hunted anyway. Naruto called out to him, thinking he would be able to hear. Hey, kid, is Bonnie still on the ship? Naruto asked as his first mate nodded. Bonnie, get out of there, will ya? He yelled, and as soon as she heard his voice she rushed from the ship and hugged him, ignoring Nami's glare. I'm so glad you're okay. I told those idiots to hurry up, she said while staring at the mentioned 3 who tried to look innocent. Out at sea. After defeating Arlong, the Galactic and Straw Hat Pirates were treated as guests of honor at the Freedom Party in Cocoa Village. During the party, the 2 crews got acquainted with each other and found that they all got along pretty, though it was begrudging respect with Hawkeye and Zoro, and hitting on jewelry with Sanji. Currently the 2 ships were sailing side by side to the next island because the Galactics needed a navigator for the time being. Ya know, it feels good to know where you're going for once. We should get a navigator next. Naruto said. Yeah, Nami's the greatest, but you can't have her. Luffy said as he stuck his tongue out. So, you expect to beat me, when all you do is sleep? Hawkeye questioned Zoro. I expect to beat you because I have the will to do so and the potential. He replied, sure. Mihawk said as he polished Yuru. Hey, everyone, it looks like we're headed for an island. Kid exclaimed as everyone came to see. That's Logatown, it's where the Pirate King died. Nami explained to the crews. Cool, let's go guys, come on, it'll be awesome. Both captains shouted in excitement while doing a happy dance with Usopp and Kid. Remember when they first met Mr. 2? Logatown. Alright, we're finally here. Okay, me and Luffy are going to see the execution scaffold. The blonde said as he and Luffy raced in its direction. I'll go get some ingredients. Bonnie Swan, would you like anything? The love-struck cook asked as she handed him a list. Thank you, Sanji. She said as he smiled and practically twirled to the market. I need to go and get some new swords. Zoro said. And just how do you plan on doing that? Nami asked with a sly smirk. I'll manage. I could loan you some, but it'll be at 300% interest. Nami offered. Fine. Zoro said as he started to walk off. I think I'll accompany you, you could use an expert. Mihawk stated following after him. I'll stay and guard the ships, and by guard, I mean sleep. Kid said as the girls sighed and went to buy clothes and law. medical supplies. So, how have you been since our scuffle? Hawkeye asked, trying to break the tension in the air. Fine, I almost bled out though. Zoro said. He would have continued if not for seeing a woman that looked exactly like a deceased friend challenge two thugs. You think we should hell? Zoro started but saw that Hawkeye had disappeared inside. Zoro then walked over to the woman and handed her glasses back. Hey, you okay? The green-haired teen asked, but froze when he saw her face. I don't believe it, she looks exactly like Kuina. He thought as she thanked him for the help. Damn it, how could I lock up like that? The likeness is uncanny though, she looks almost like she would if she lived this long. Zoro contemplated. Who was that? An old flame perhaps? Hawkeye questioned as he appeared out of nowhere. Where the hell were you? Zoro asked. I was hiding. She is in the Marines. I've met her before with a captain by the name Smoker. He replied. You were hiding, why? Zoro questioned the former warlord. I can't have them know that I'm not with the Marines anymore, can I? He countered as the swordsman moved onward. Wow, check out how tall it is. Luffy said as he stared at the scaffold that Gold Roger had died on, while his brother ran up to climb it. Hey, Naruto, wait for me. Luffy yelled after his brother. The girls were at a dress clothes store tormenting the owner by wearing a lot of his most expensive merchandise, and decided to buy some casual clothes instead. So, do you like Naruto at all? Nami asked the pink-haired cook as she blushed up a storm at the question. Of course not, he's way too stupid to land someone like me. Bonnie said in defense. Well, that's good, now I have a chance. Nami said, knowing full well that Jewelry lied, and she decided to use that to her advantage in order to snag him while all she could do was sit back and watch, as if he could do way better than you. Maybe I should land him. Is that a challenge? So what if it is? The girls argued as they established an unsaid contest to see who could win the blonde captain's heart first. Sword shop. As the two swordsmen walked into a small shop that had its walls littered with sword and any excess were found in the barrels around the walls. Welcome to my shop, I have many different swords for you to choose from. The owner said as he smiled at the thought of having business. I'll cut to the chase, all I have is 100,000 berries, and I need 2 swords. Zoro said as he laid the money out on the counter. Upon seeing the teen's lack of funds, the owner's disposition took a turn. You can find 2 swords in that barrel worth 50,000, but they'll be blunt. He said in disappointment, that is until he saw Zoro's sword, Wado Ikimonji, and got a devious idea to trick Zoro into selling him his sword. I don't like that expression on your face. Mihawk said as he made his presence known, with the owner being shocked that the world's greatest swordsman was standing in his shop. Were you planning on taking advantage of that boy? He asked. No, I was just trying to, it's no use lying to me. Mihawk said. You shouldn't have even thought of that. What kind of sword merchant would do that? Hawkeye asked as the owner looked down ashamed. Just then Tashigi stumbled in, surprising Zoro that she showed up while Mihawk stayed stoic as ever. Even I couldn't have foreseen this, he thought, knowing there was nowhere to hide now. I don't believe it, it's the Wado Ikimonji. How did you get your hands on such a famous sword? She asked Zoro. It was a gift from a friend. Zoro asked as he continued to search for a sword as the swordswoman went to the counter to get Autumn Rain from the owner. At the counter she noticed Hawkeye. What are you doing here? She asked, a bit suspicious of him being here of all places. I am a warlord of the sea, I can go wherever I please. I am not obligated to tell the Navy where I am, and what I am doing at all times. He said plainly as he looked over at Zoro as he picked up a sword with a blood-red scabbard. Wow, that's the Sandai Kidetsu, its predecessors are even more famous than this. Tashigi said in amazement at seeing 2 famous swords in one day. I can't sell you that sword. The owner said. Why not? She asked. This sword is cursed. Zoro said as he felt that vibe from the sword that told him so. Yes, all the swords in the Kidetsu series are cursed. Each swordsman that has wielded one has died. The owner said, not wanting the teen to die because of him. I think I'll take it. He said, shocking all but Hawkeye. Are you insane? The owner asked as the green-haired swordsman tossed the sword in the air and stuck his arm out in order to see if he was worthy to wield it. The audience just stood by and watched as the sword came flipping down, just short of lopping Zoro's arm off. Impressive. He must believe in his luck very strongly in order to put his arm on the line like that. Mihawk thought, gaining more respect for Zoro. Zoro picked up Kidetsu 3 and looked to Tashigi. Hey, can you pick another sword for me? Zoro asked the girl as she nodded. Wait, I want you to take this. This is the best sword I have, Snow Chaser. I'll give you this for free and Kidetsu as well. I'd also like to apologize for thinking about tricking you into selling Wado, the owner said while Zoro looked clueless since he didn't know about the plan in the first place. Well, thanks anyway. Zoro said as he and Mihawk walked out, though Mihawk gave a nod of approval at the owner before walking out. Scaffold. Wow. This is awesome. Luffy said at the top of the scaffold with Naruto next to him staring out at the courtyard. If I ever get caught, I want to be executed here. Naruto stated in a cheery manner, even if he was talking about his own demise. Hey, you two can't be up there. The execution scaffold is for viewing purposes only. A local officer said through a megaphone to the two pirate captains as they looked down in curiosity at the policeman. Suddenly a spiked mace hit the policeman in his face, knocking him out. I've finally found you, Luffy. A strange woman said with the mace in her hand. Luffy, how do you know that lady? I don't know her. The brothers conversed as the woman seemed miffed that Luffy didn't remember her. Hey, don't you ignore me. She yelled at the oblivious boys. It's me, Alvida. She said as a look of realization on Luffy's face. Liar, he said with a deadpan expression. As they were talking, a man suddenly descended on the two brothers as he captured Luffy and kicked Naruto off the scaffold as he landed on his head and got knocked out. Suddenly a lightning strike woke him up as he saw his friends gathered around the collapsed scaffold. Hey, Naruto, what were you doing down here? Sanji asked his fellow blonde. I don't know. One moment I'm on top, the next I'm down here. He said, clueless to the happenings around him. Well, come on, we need to get out of here before this storm hits. Zoro said as all four of them started running while also defeating the grunts of the Marines. On the road to the Mary, the guys came across a lone woman in the middle of the street that Zoro seemed to recognize. Roronoa, Zoro, were you making fun of me? No, you never asked for my name anyway. It's not like I lied to you, besides you didn't tell me you were in the Navy. Zoro countered, I'll be taking those sword from you now, she said as she engaged Zoro, who seemed to find it funny that she would challenge him. While the sword duel was going on, the others ran ahead, more like two ran and one got dragged, namely Sanji, who though Zoro attacking a woman was wrong. Further down the road the three came across someone whom Naruto thought he would never see again, Captain Smoker of the Navy. Well, it's surprising enough that Straw Hat, Luffy with a bounty of 30 million berries would be in Logatown, but the universe pirate, Naruto Uzumaki, is here as well. Smoker said with a hint of satisfaction. Naruto, who is this guy? Luffy asked his brother. He's a marine captain I had to beat, and he obviously misheard me when I told him my epithet, but I have to admit it does sound cooler. Naruto said as he grabbed Sanji and decided to let his brother try his luck, so he was allowing Luffy to fight Smoker in order to prep him for the Grand Line. Docs. Listen man, I don't know who you are, but I can't have you burning these ships. Kid said since waking up from the sudden rain he found some guy in a strange costume with a lion trying to burn their ships. I don't care, my captain gave me specific orders to burn the Strafut's ship, and since you're one of their allies that means your ship too. The man said. That's when Nami and Usopp showed up, which startled Moji. As he turned to see who appeared he slipped and banged his head against the Mary and knocked himself out. That was just stupid. Kid said as Richie, the lion, attacked but Kid punted him across town. After a while the pirates saw the rest of their respective crews heading towards them, though Luffy looked a little banged up. Come on you guys, let's get out of here before Smokey comes back, Luffy said as everyone jumped aboard their ships. En route to the Grand Line. This is so cool, Luffy said atop Mary's goat head. Yeah, but it depends on your point of view, Nami said, hating the storm while it didn't seem to bother the guys too much. The girls hated it. Well, it's finally time to launch into the Grand Line, Sanji said as he brought a barrel for the ritual. Cool in a storm, we should do that you guys, Naruto said, and then saw that his crew weren't all that interested. Kid was asleep in the corner despite the rain, Bonnie was inside to shelter herself from the rain, Law was busy going through his new medical supplies, and Mihawk was off to the side looking at the lighthouse. His crew's apparent lack of involvement, that he was certain was done on purpose, made Naruto sulk to the ground in despair as everyone, including his own crew, with Kid waking up right then, laughing at him. Shut the hell up. It's not funny, you jerks, he yelled as they laughed harder. Both crews edged toward the Grand Line, and closer to their goals. The two pirate ships were slowly riding out the storm after their Logatown adventure, and both crew were relaxing on the Mary Go's galley. Okay, everyone, according to this map, in order to get into the Grand Line we have to go up a mountain, Nami told the two crews as they all had questioning looks on their faces. How do we get two ships up a mountain? Kid asked the orange-haired girl. Well, from the charts there's a canal that goes up the mountain, so it shouldn't be too hard, she explained. Yeah, sure, but even with a canal a ship can't just sail up a mountain, Usopp said. It doesn't matter to us. Without you guys we couldn't have even gotten this far, we really need a navigator, Naruto said as his crew nodded. Why do we even have to go through the entrance? Can't we just sail south and get into the Grand Line that way? Zoro asked, finding this way too much of a task to get into. The pirates' graveyard, no way. Luffy yelled at Zoro, we can't just skip the entrance, it's not right, Luffy said as Nami punched him in the head. That's wrong, but there is a specific reason why we can't sail south, she explained. Naruto then raised his hand. Why can't we be different from all the other pirate crews, and find our own way into the Grand Line? He asked. Like how? Well, we could take all the strong people and hitch the ships to our backs and hike up the mountain, Naruto said as the more normal people of the crew looked at him like he was crazy. That sound pretty fun. Yeah, Nami, could we do that? Zoro said, and Luffy asked as they were both bopped. No way, are you both insane? Nami asked. Why do we have to go through so much trouble? All you have to do is let me cut the mountain at its base, then we can sail right over it. Mihawk suggested the plan that all the guys seemed into it. Seriously, wouldn't you want to see that? No way, you can't just cut mountains needlessly, Bonnie explained as the boys felt a little dejected at not being able to see the swordsman cut the mountain. Well, how do you propose we do it? That ridiculous canal theory, Law asked as Usopp looked out the window. Hey, the storm's gone, he said as everyone filed outside to see. This is bad, we're in the calm belt, Nami said as everyone saw the storm still going on over from where they came. Turn the ship around. Grab the oars and row, you guys too, she told both crews. Why would we row? These are sail ships, you know, Luffy and Naruto said. The weather's really nice here too. Why go back to the storm? Law asked as he took a deep breath. Because we're sailing south, just like Zoro said, Nami yelled, trying to get everyone to work. So are we in the Grand Line then? Zoro asked. No, if it were that simple everyone would be able to get into the Grand Line. You have to understand the calm belts sandwich the Grand Line, and there's no wind, so sailing is useless here. Come on Nami, can't we stay? It's really nice here, Naruto asked the girl. Normally she would have blushed at him, but the danger they were in snapped her out of it. We have to, because, she started but didn't finish because the ships began to shake. What's going on? Is it an earthquake? Luffy asked while Sanji yelled at him, we're at sea. So it's a seaquake, then. Kid asked as Hawkeye stood by knowing what was going to happen because of his time on the Grand Line. Suddenly both ships were taken into the sky because a large sea king rose up out of the water while taking the ships onto his head, shocking everyone except Mr. Stoic, aka Mihawk. The calm belt is a nest of Neptunians. Nami squeaked out as she clutched the mast of the Mary. Alright, here's the plan. When these guys go back under, we row back to the storm. Got it, Zoro said as everyone, except Usopp since he was foaming at the mouth, nodded. As soon as most of the Neptunians started to resubmerge into the water, the Neptunian that had the ships on top of his head in some twist of fate decided to sneeze, which in turn caused the two pirate vessels to be rocketed off. Guys, hang on, Naruto called once again, not following his own advice as he started falling, until Zoro caught him. You need to hang on too, the swordsman yelled. As they closed in on the water, a giant frog hopped up to the Mary and opened mouth as Usopp began to fall in. Usopp! Luffy yelled as he stretched his hand to catch the sharpshooter, and Mihawk jumped up and cleaved the amphibian in two. That was awesome, Kid said as all the guys, including the recently rescued Usopp and even Mihawk, though he was the one that did it, nodded their heads while they had stupid grins on their faces. Then went back to being in mortal terror mode. Soon the ships landed back in the raging typhoon. Do you see why we have to use the entrance now? Nami asked as everyone who doubted the going up reverse mountain theory nodded their heads. So Ms. Navigator, how do you propose we get into the Grand Line? Asked the panda-esque doctor. Well, now that I think about it, all four of the seas converge on reverse mountain, so their force should push us up the mountain and onto the other side. And if we missed, that same force would crush us. Get it? Nami explained to everyone. I get it, it's a mystery mountain. Luffy said as he and Naruto pretended to understand what she said, making her sigh. After a few more minutes of sailing, the crew saw the mountain and its gates leading to the canal. Wow, that's pretty impressive, Naruto said as Law had a puzzled look on his face. How could anyone build gates on the ocean? He asked as all the guys tilted their heads as they all started to wonder how it was possible. Hey, focus on steering, unless you want to be acquainted with the sea floor, Nami said as Kid hopped over to their ship and unfurled the sails while Naruto took the helm. Okay, onto the Grand Line, Naruto said as he pumped his fist up in the air and everyone else did the same. After a little bit of trouble, the crews eventually made it to the other side of Reverse Mountain, just to run into a large black wall. Hey, is that supposed to be their Tangerine? Kid asked Nami, who decided to ignore his little nickname for her as she shook her head. It should be open ocean now, Nami said as she stared intently at the large obstruction. As the group drew closer to the obstacle, they saw it was actually a fairly large whale with a series of nasty gashes all over the front of its nose. Wow, that's the biggest whale I've ever seen, Kid said. And pray tell, how many whale have you seen? Law asked while Kid growled at him and probably would have done more if not for their captain telling them to stop. Okay, guys, plan time. How are we going to get past that? Usopp asked as everyone looked at him. Why don't you try coming up with a plan? Sanji asked while Usopp just laughed. Poor, naive Sanji, my ideas are too great to use. As a matter of fact, the last time someone used one of my ideas, they ended up getting seriously injured. I had told him only someone as brave as me could pull it off. Usopp lied while Naruto and Kid gaped, being ensnared in the lie. Wait, I have an idea, Luffy said as he ran below deck. There's an opening on the left, turn to port, Zoro said as everyone obeyed and began turning their ships toward the opening. We're almost out, Bonnie said as she breathed a sigh of relief, but when she turned back there was no sign of Mary. Hey, where is everybody? Law asked when they heard the boom of a cannon and saw the second pirate ship coming but without the goat head. Hey, what happened? Naruto questioned the Straw Hats as they passed by the eye of the whale. Luffy shot a cannon at the whale, Nami explained as the Galactics made an "oh" with their mouths and decided to go faster too. I'm pretty sure this spells doom for us, Mihawk said as he pointed over to Mary as Luffy walked to the front of the ship with an angry look on his face. You bastard. What did you do to my special seat? Luffy yelled as he punched the whale in the eye. Suffice to say everyone, even Hawkeye, was crying a stream of tears at the strafutted boy's stupidity. You idiot. They yelled as Luffy got into a fighting stance ready to defend his lost seat, that is until Sanji and Zoro kicked him in the head. While the squabble was going on, the crews neglected to notice that the whale was looking right at them, and opened its great maw, swallowing both ships whole except for Luffy, who had fallen off. Hey, what's going on? Luffy said as he hopped on top of the whale, panting. They all got eaten. What am I supposed to do? Luffy said as he started punching the whale repeatedly. Give me back my friend, we're on an adventure, I need them. Luffy yelled as the whale began going under the water. Luffy started to panic until he noticed a hatch. A hatch on the top of the whale. Though Luffy didn't feel like looking a gift horse in the mouth, he ran to it and jumped inside. Inside Laboon. Panda, have you been slipping something into our drinks? Kid asked. And Law looked offended. Of course not. A doctor's job is to cure people, not cause illnesses. Maybe we died and this is heaven. Bonnie suggested as she and Nami hid behind Naruto. Nah, we're pirates, there's no way we'd go to heaven. Maybe this is hell. He said, making the girls grip him tighter, and Usopp started to cry. Hell, huh? Thought there'd be more fire. Zoro said, accidentally frightening the weaker members of the crew. It was the most peculiar thing though. One minute they were getting swallowed by that huge whale, the next they were outside. It just didn't make any sense. If they were swallowed, then why was there a sky, and an island in front of them? Not only that, but there was a house on it, so someone was either living on an island outside, or that person was crazy enough to live in a whale. The crews had no time to ponder this conundrum when a large Neptunian squid burst out of the water, and attacked the ship, scaring the girls, and Usopp. I hope this whale swallowed some metal. Kid said as the guys got ready to attack the squid, only to be intercepted when 3 huge harpoons stabbed right through it, killing it instantly. After witnessing that amazing feat, the pirates followed the rope of the harpoons back to the house and saw a man. At least they thought he was a man. I mean, he had flower petals on his head. The man was also wearing a pink shirt with a green stripe and a yellow stripe with purple circles, and gray shorts and sandals, and had glasses as well as a beard that seemed to be going sideways. The moment he stepped out, all was silent as the group stared at the old man, as he stared right back, putting the pirates on edge. Eventually the man walked over to the smaller island, sat down in a lawn chair. And read the newspaper, completely ignoring the pirates. Him. Hey, say something. Naruto called out to the older man, who once again decided that his newspaper was the most important thing right now. Hey, if you're looking for a fight, you'd better watch out. We've got a cannon. Usopp told the man, hoping to deter him from attacking them as Mihawk jabbed his head with the butt of Yuru. Don't threaten people. It's not right. He said as the man looked up. Forget it. If we fought, someone's going to die. He ominously said, causing the pirates to tense up as they wondered if this old man actually possessed the strength necessary to take them down. And who's that gonna be? Sanji asked. Me. The man answered simply, which made everyone sweat drop and made Sanji angry. You wanna fight, old man? Come on, I'll make sure that premonition of yours comes true. Sanji exclaimed, getting ready to hop over the railing of Mary in order to kick the man into next week, but Naruto, Kid, and Usopp held the fuming cook back. Calm down. Seriously, we just need some answers. Zoro told the cook as he calmly approached the railing. Sorry about him, he's just an idiot. We just want to know where we are, and who you are. Zoro said in a polite manner. Isn't proper etiquette to introduce yourself before asking people questions? The man asked the pirates. Oh, you're right. I'm. Zoro never got to finish since the man interrupted him. My name is Crocus. I'm the keeper of the Twin Capes Lighthouse. I'm 71 years old, a Gemini, and I have blood type AB. He said, giving his name and plenty of other unnecessary tidbits of information. I'm gonna slice him in two. Zoro said as he gripped his swords. Just leave the geezer alone. With the way he's acting, he's probably stupid. Kid said as Crocus looked straight at him. I'm stupid. Who's ever heard of a boy wearing full body makeup? He asked as Kid looked ready to grab the entire ship and chuck it at the old man. It isn't makeup, you bastard. This is my natural skin color. Kid fumed as the whites of his eyes were showing in indignation. You know, this guy is very irritating. Naruto said as Usopp nodded. And you too, aren't you a little too old to be wearing a cape and using a slingshot? He asked, completing the set as they joined Zoro, Kid, and Sanji at the rail, yelling obscenities at him as well, while the girls, Law, and Mihawk stayed back and watched as they continued to yell at him. Knock it off. Nami yelled at them as she punched them in the head, though Naruto's punch was noticeably lighter than the others. What's with young people today? Who do you think you are? Coming into my personal resort and ordering me around. Where do you think you are? In the belly of a mouse. Crocus said as realization dawned on the pirates. So, we really are in that whale's stomach. Usopp said, damn, I really wanted to go to hell. I really wanted to become the king. Kid said, and Zoro, Naruto, and Sanji appeared at his side. I highly doubt you'd be able to be king, 'cause that's gonna be me. Naruto said, no way. When I was a bounty hunter, people would call me a demon. What have you been called lately? Zoro stated with a smirk. Please. Marimo, you couldn't rule anything. If you were to go to war with heaven, you'd probably send them in the wrong direction. Sanji said as the four teens broke out into a fight. HMPH, they couldn't rule anything. Nami said as they watched the fight, you're right. Out of all of us, Nami, you're the most likely to rule hell. After all, you strap people for money, steal, and have people pay you back at unreasonable prices. Mihawk said as Law bumped fists with him to show he agreed with him. Either way, they got punched in the head by the orange-haired navigator. Come on, you guys, this is serious. Usopp said as everyone nodded. We have to get out of here. I for one don't plan on being digested today. Nami said, and she was especially afraid of surviving the digestion and being forced to exit. That way, as the pirates conversed with each other, Crocus decided to speak up. The exit's over there. He said as everyone decided to face where he was pointing and saw a large, clearly visible door. You mean we can get out? It's that easy. Everyone but Hawkeye yelled. Hold on a sec. That door's in the sky. Law said as everyone took a closer look at the sky and clouds. To their surprise, the clouds weren't moving at all, they're painted on. Naruto pointed out, and everyone agreed with him. It's a hobby of mine. Crocus said as Usopp's eyes bugged out. What are you up to? He asked as Hawkeye spoke up. He must have been in here for quite some time. To paint the entirety of this whale's stomach is no easy feat. Quit gawking, and help. Sanji said. Come on guys, we've got to get out of here before we're melted by the stomach acid. Naruto said as he hopped to his ship. Actually, we won't be melted. The acids will slowly corrode us and break us down into usable energy for the whale. Law explained, making both crews look at him strangely. I'm a doctor, it's a requirement to know this as well as human anatomy. Don't forget that all living things basically have the same functions. Well, we don't need to know about that, this isn't a school, you know. Usopp said as he scurried about like the others. Suddenly the whale started to shake violently. And while this was going on, the island that Crocus was on began to sway as well, exposing the bottom of it. Hey, the bottom of the island is coated in metal. Nami pointed out to the others. So, that really is stomach acid. We can't stay here much longer, especially with Luffy running around without us to keep him in check. Zoro said as the whale's stomach grew more violent. What the hell is this thing doing? Kid asked no one in particular. But the old man decided to answer. He's doing it again. You see, this whale is ramming his head against the red line. What? All the pirates asked. That explains those terrible scars on his nose. Nami said as the others began to recall the same thing. Yeah, and maybe it's just me, but didn't the whale sound sad whenever it did that whale? Jewelry said as the others nodded. Yeah, with all those scars on its nose it bound to be in a tremendous amount of pain. Naruto said, that old man must be trying to do it in from the inside. What a disgusting tactic. Usopp stated, if that were true, I'm absolutely sure that he would have killed it already. Mihawk said as he looked over to the exit door. After we figure out the answer to this mystery, we'd better go. The ships will be dissolved at this rate. Zoro pointed out to everyone, Marimo's right. I for one don't enjoy whaling, but I feel no special obligation to save this whale. Sanji said, if the old man does kill the whale, can we have some whale meat? Kid asked as Naruto nodded, no way. Everybody yelled at them as they shrunk back, it was just a question. Naruto said. In Laboon's hallway. The hallway inside the whale was shaking just as badly as the whale's stomach, I just don't get it. How does a whale have a hatch on its head, and a hallway in its stomach? Luffy asked himself as he bounced around the hallway, all the while keeping a firm hand on his strafut. Alright, Ms. Wednesday, we've successfully infiltrated the whale. Next, we have to get into the stomach, and it should be on the other side of this door. That old man will probably be there as well. A man with red hair and crown on top of his head and the number 9 on his cheeks said to the now named Ms. Wednesday. Ms. Wednesday was wearing a long-sleeved light green coat with a fur trim and also had a black and white bustier in a circle pattern which accentuated her breasts, and white shorts with a circular belt. She also had her blue hair up in a ponytail. Both were positioned with their backs to the large exit door and the smaller door built into it, and had a bazooka in each of their hands. Right, Mr. 9. We'll have to finish him off this time, if we want to take this whale's meat. Ms. Wednesday said to the now named Mr. 9 as he nodded at her statement, you're absolutely right, baby. So, we have to make sure we take this whale down. On the count of 3, 2, 1 baby, we rush in, be ready to fight. Mr. 9 said as they both prepped their bazookas. Okay. 3, 2, 0, I can't stop. Help me. Luffy screamed as he interrupted Mr. 9's countdown. What's that, Mr. 9? I don't know, Ms. Wednesday. The mystery people said as Luffy kept on charging. All three screamed as they busted the smaller door open. Laboon's stomach. The three continued screaming as they started to plummet towards the whale's stomach. Acid, Luffy. Zoro asked as the others looked up to see him as well. What did I tell you? It's like he's a magnet for trouble. Zoro said as Law used his powers to switch Luffy with some splintered planks lying around their ship. After being set down by the doctor, Luffy gave him a thumbs up. Thanks, Trafalgar. Luffy said as Law gained a tick mark. It's Trafalgar, not Guy. He stated, getting annoyed each time Luffy would call him that. What about those other two that were falling with Luffy? Zoro asked. Yeah, and the old man is missing too. Bonnie said as they noticed that Crocus was missing, and also noticed that the whale had calmed down significantly from how it was acting before. Later on, after the mysterious duo were pulled out of the stomach acid, they were brought before the allied crew of 10 for interrogation, but Sanji took more to asking Ms. Wednesday if she'd go out with him. Alright, seeing as we've saved you, I think we deserve some answers. Don't you? Naruto asked as the both of them looked down to avoid his gaze, feeling a little tight-lipped. Well, that's too bad, 'cause you see this entire crew is full of psychos. Naruto told them and enjoyed seeing them sweat while the crew just looked at him like he was crazy. I mean, I'm bad myself, but my crew here eat the hearts of everyone they come across. Before he could go on, the entire crew clamped his mouth shut. How are they gonna talk to us, if you tell them this crap? It's a mutiny, is it? Fine, come get some. He said as he started doing ridiculous karate poses. You'll never harm Laboon. Crocus' voice sounded out from behind them. Who's the old guy? Luffy questioned his crew as they all looked over to him, but made the mistake of taking their eyes off of Mr. Nine and Ms. Wednesday, who took the opportunity to grab their bazookas. You really believe that? We're already inside of his stomach. Mr. Nine said as they took aim. There's nothing to stop us from blasting a hole right through his insides. Ms. Wednesday said as they both fired. Crocus rushed to the side of the platform he was on and jumped, taking the shots meant for Laboon, which shocked everyone. He's not trying to kill it. Kid said. He was protecting the whale. Nami said as Mr. Nine and Ms. Wednesday prepared to fire another round, that is if Luffy and his brother didn't deliver a punch to their heads, knocking them out. They had it coming. Luffy said. I decided to skip the Laboon backstory. Everyone should know it. Wow, old man, I can't believe you built all of this inside of a whale. Naruto said as he stood on the banister of the Mary. Yes, it's a medical marvel in and of itself. Law praised Crocus on his medical skills. Yes, I suppose it is. I was once a doctor on a ship after all. Crocus explained as he led the pirates out of Laboon. You were a doctor, really? Luffy asked as he clung to the broken head of Mary. Yes, at one point I even ran a clinic. Then join our crew. We really need a doctor. Luffy said, though Crocus didn't seem too interested from the scoff he let out. I couldn't do that. I'm not as young as I used to be. Besides, you're just a bunch of young fools, judging by the fact that you punched a whale in the eye just because he broke your figurehead. Crocus explained as Luffy seemed dejected. Outside. It's good to get out of there. The smell was killing me. Kid said as he breathed in the fresh air. Are you sure that smell wasn't you? Law asked, but Kid decided to ignore him. So what are we gonna do with these guys? Zoro asked as everyone gathered around Ms. Wednesday and Mr. 9 Inches. I say we interrogate them, the painful torture way. Kid suggested. No way, I don't care what you do to him, but leave the girl alone. Sanji said. Let's just chuck the overboard. Naruto said. Yeah, but they could get away, and Usopp started to say. That is until Nami and Bonnie got behind him, practically daring him to say something that went against the blonde-haired captain's idea. What were you saying, Usopp? Luffy asked the sweating teen. And nothing, it isn't important. Quote. After their small debate, Zoro threw the two strange people overboard, and soon after they rose from the depths gasping for breath. Wah, is this stomach acid? Mr. 9 asked as he started to panic. No, Mr. 9, it appears that those pirates knocked us out. Ms. Wednesday elaborated to her hysteric partner. Would you mind telling us who you both are? I'd much rather keep from cleaving someone annoying in two today. Mihawk said while the two sweated. Don't worry, Mr. 9, after all, our profession is pirates. You're right, baby, the organization will be very interested in them. The two talked while the others stood by and watched them point at them in a weird fashion. Dude, what's up with the pinkies? Naruto asked as he, Luffy, and Usopp attempted to copy them. The two weirdos then swam away, swearing their revenge on the pirates. Unbeknownst to both the Galactics and the Straw Hats, Luffy picked up a strange compass-like object. Later on, the pirates were lounging around the Twin Capes lighthouse conversing with each other. So Laboon's been waiting for those pirates for 50 years. Luffy asked as Crocus nodded. They sure have kept him waiting for a long time. Luffy replied. Nah, they're probably dead. Kid sighed out as he leaned against the lighthouse with a frown on his face. This is the Grand Line, they probably died within the year. Sanji explained in an angry tone. Usopp then grew angry at the blonde cook. How do you know that? They could still come back for him. I'd like to believe that, but they fled the Grand Line. I got this from a reliable source. Crocus said as he looked down. And they left this whale to fend for itself. How deplorable. Hawkeye said while sitting on the ground as everyone of the pirates looked peeved, though Law was off to the side fiddling with something. You're wrong. Naruto said with his feet propped up on the table. What do you mean? Nami asked. I don't know why, but I feel as if one of them is still alive. He said seriously, earning looks from the two crews that questioned his statement. Why do you think that? Zoro asked. It's probably a dead man's whispers. Looks like you're gonna die before you even get to the first island. Sanji said in a somber tone and lowered his head, "That's not what I mean." The blonde captain yelled. After his rant, Naruto noticed that his brother was missing, and saw Mary's mast going up laboon. Isn't that the mast of Mary? Naruto asked, prompting everyone to turn their heads in the whale's direction. Luffy was currently running up laboon with Mary's mast in hand, and yelling at the top of his lungs. Once he was at the top, he saw blood squirting from laboon's freshest wound and proceeded to plunge the sharper side of the mast into it, which shocked the pirates and the old man below, and caused laboon a fair amount of pain. "What are you doing, you idiot?" Everyone yelled at their friend as they saw laboon crush Luffy, but it only sunk the mast in deeper in his nose, eliciting more pain. The Strafut then punched the whale in its eye, though it didn't stop laboon's charge as he swung his head. This action made Luffy crash against the lighthouse and lie down against it. Laboon moved to execute the finisher when a voice rang out, "It's a draw." The voice was none other than Luffy. "I'm pretty strong, huh?" Luffy asked. The crew was puzzled, not seeing what was going on. "If I'm gonna be the Pirate King, I can't lose to anybody. So I'm gonna go through the Grand Line, and come back so we can finish our fight," Luffy told the now crying whale. That let out a roar of approval. Later, Laboon had a crappy drawing of the Strafut's flag on his nose. "I see that your poor drawing skills reflected on your brother," Law said as he saw both of the fall to the ground. "Other than what Traffle Guy said. Make sure you don't mess up the symbol, it's our pact for our match," Luffy said, and Laboon nodded. Soon after, the pirates were just lounging around the speck of land, when a feminine scream was heard. "Usopp, are you alright?" Naruto asked the marksman. "That wasn't me," he yelled as Naruto looked sheepish. "Seriously, you thought that that was Usopp?" Zoro asked as Sanji, Kid, and Luffy appeared. "You guys thought that too?" He yelled at them as they all started to dart their eyes around. "I don't yell like a girl," Usopp yelled with sharp teeth. The pirates then went back to the lighthouse. "What's with the yelling? You're interrupting my work," Law said as he looked at the orange-haired navigator, who was the origin of the scream. "How can you be so calm?" The hysteric girl retorted. "Hey, Tangerine, what's wrong?" Kid asked as the others arrived and Sanji put the elephant true bluefin he got from Logatown on the table. "Stop calling me that, and yeah, the problem is the compass, it's broken," she said as everyone looked at it to see it spinning out of control. "Maybe you broke it, clumsy," Jewelry stated in a taunting manner. "No way, I'm not one of them." Nami pointed to all of the men. "Were you all planning to die? You can't use a normal compass on the Grand Line." Crocus explained. "Why? Because of the magnetic field?" The navigator asked, to which the old man nodded. Grand Line islands are rich in minerals, making each island have a unique magnetic field. Not only that, but the weather follows no clear pattern, he said. "I'm sorry, I didn't know," she admitted. "You guys are screwed," Kid said as he, Luffy, and his captain continued eating the bluefin. "He is right, you have to have a log pose to navigate the Grand Line," Crocus said. "What's that?" Naruto asked. "It's an odd-looking compass basically," Mihawk said off to the side. "Like this?" Luffy and Naruto asked as they held them up. "Where'd you get those?" Nami asked and punched them both. "Law bought it. Those weirdos left it behind," they answered. "With those you travel from island to island logging at magnetic fields so you can move on. It's a lot like island hopping, you choose your route and no matter which you choose they will all lead to the final island, Raftel. The only pirate to have reached it was Gall D. Roger himself." Crocus said. "Yeah, until we get there," Luffy said, eating the fish bones. "One Piece has to be there," Law said with a smirk as he went back to tinkering with something. "Let's go, we're all done eating," Kid said as he and the two brothers let out a sigh of content. "You bastards, I wanted Nami to have that," Sanji yelled as he kicked them right into Nami's log pose. After seeing this, Hawkeye relieved his captain of their log pose as all four men were kicked into the ocean. "Now we're stranded," Nami said with anime tears, "You can have mine as thanks for saving Laboon." Crocus said. A little later the four pirates resurfaced along with Singed Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine. "So let me get this straight. You want us to take you back to your home island?" Naruto asked the two mystery people who nodded. "Why should we? You tried to kill the whale." Nami said, "I'll take them." Naruto said with a final tone in his voice, "You're so kind, Naruto." Nami said as she slid next to him, "You were just about to reject them." Usopp deadpanned as he got hit for his statement. "Here, old man, this is an ointment that I made for Laboon, it should heal up his wounds in a few months." Law said as he revealed the thing he had been working on, "Thank you." Crocus said and all Law did was smirk. "Are you sure about this? If you go to Whiskey Peak, you can't change your course." Crocus told the pirates, "I have a ton of good luck. So if I really need to, I'll just sail around until I get to a new island." Naruto said then whispered, "Besides, I'll just have to eat my crew if I get lost." "We can hear you." They all yelled. "Alright guys, this is it, the first island of the Grand Line." Luffy said with cheering being heard, "Go Mary." Luffy said, "Forward Bon Bon." Bonnie said as her crew had a questioning look on their face, "Bon Bon. That is a terrible name." Naruto said to the Pinkett, "It's my ship, I can name it whatever I want." She said, "Guys, I promise you on the Grand Line we are getting a new ship." Naruto said and the guys nodded. "You're so rude." The woman cook told them. Open ocean. It was now snowing unexpectedly on the two ships and the more immature members of the crews were outside enjoying themselves. "It's the greatest hero ever, Mr. Snowman." Luffy said as he looked at his snow creation. "Luffy, your snowman is lame. Feast your eyes on my snow princess." Usopp said unveiling his masterpiece. "You have a lot to learn. All you have is a normal snowman and a snow sculpture. My snow devil knock you guys out of the water." Kid said as he showed off a large demon with sharp teeth made out of snow. "Wow, that is impressive." Luffy said with sparkles in his eyes, "Ahem, I win because of my snow giant." Naruto said atop a lifelike giant made of snow. "Oh yeah? Take this snowman punch." Luffy exclaimed as he launched his snowman's fist at the giant making it crumble. "Hey." Naruto then kicked Mr. Snowman's head off. Luffy didn't take kindly to this and launched a punch, but accidentally hit the Snow Princess, which made Usopp retaliate, but he hit Kids. These chain of events led to a snow war, the likes of which no one has ever seen. "How can they stand this cold?" Nami asked inside Mary's galley. "Why am I doing this? My sword isn't supposed to be used as a shovel." Mihawk said, "Just keep doing it unless you want to be punched." Law said beside Hawkeye and Sanji as they shoveled snow off of their respective decks, as commanded by the female pirates. "Hey, pirates, don't your ships have heaters?" The two freeloaders said while huddled inside with Nami. "Why don't you shut up?" Nami said to them. Suddenly thunder was heard outside. "What is with this weather? It's so unnatural." Nami commented to herself, as their guests mocked her for underestimating the Grand Line, until they were booted out to help shovel. Everyone turned the ships back around. Nami commanded, "Why? Did you forget something?" Luffy asked as everyone came to see what was going on, except the sleeping Zoro. "We somehow got turned around," she hysterically said as everyone scurried about to adhere to the girl's commands. Soon the pirates had braved extreme weather from storms to icebergs and tidal waves. Because of all the insane weather, both ships were patched up fairly poorly. "Ah, that was a nice nap," Zoro said as he looked at both ships to see everyone on the ground. "Shouldn't you guys be working? What if we go off course?" he said, making everyone sweat drop. "Oh hey, it's you two," Zoro said looking at the odd couple. "What were you thinking?" Nami said as she punched the green-haired teen. "I don't know what you're talking about." That got him another 2 punches. "I want to get a navigator that knows what they're doing," Naruto said to himself. Whiskey Peak. A little while later, the city of Whiskey Peak on Cactus Island came into view. Wow, those are some huge cactuses. Kid said. It's cacti, you illiterate brute. Law corrected. I don't remember asking you, Panda. Kid said. As they drew closer to the island, their hitchhikers decided to swim the rest of the way. What strange people. I have a bad feeling. Mahawk said as he surveyed the island through its mist. Hey, guys, if the strongest person here says he has a bad feeling, don't you think we should stay away? Usopp said in quivering voice. Calm down, I'm sure we can take anything that is on the island. Naruto said. But can't set foot on that island. Fever, Usopp lied, really. You're going even if I have to drag you, Fever, Zoro said. Welcome pirates. Welcome to Whiskey Peak. A horde of villagers yelled out in a joyous tone. How surprising. Is this the cause of your suspicion? Law asked in his polite voice. I promise you that none of this is as it seems. Hawkeye said, sending his piercing glare at the celebrating villagers. Later that night, the Straw Hats and the Galactic Pirates were currently living it up at their welcome party from the villagers. After meeting the town's mayor, who had huge curlers, the pirates were immediately invited to a party in their honor that they couldn't refuse. During the party, Usopp was telling lies about his many adventures, Zoro was drinking men under the table, Nami was doing the same but at a faster pace than the swordsman. Luffy, Bonnie, and Naruto were eating heaps of food. Kid was beating every guy that challenged him to an arm wrestle. He was currently having one with Law for a good 10 minutes, and Sanji was flirting with an entire mob of girls at once. The only one who wasn't partying was Hawkeye. All he did was eat his fill and stand against the wall staring at the villagers. What he didn't notice was that Agarippoi, the mayor, slunk away during the commotion, and watched as everyone passed out, including Hawkeye eventually. Mr. 8, how are our guests? Mr. 9 asked as he and Ms. Wednesday appeared. They've fallen asleep. The newly revealed Mr. 8 said. I can't believe you had us waste more of our food on 10 pirates. A brawny woman said in a huff. Ms. Monday, the food was an acceptable loss. I checked up on them. Mr. 8 said as he pulled out Luffy and Naruto's bounty posters. He's worth 30 million Barris, and his brother 50 million. How is that possible? All three asked. Strafut has been taking down strong pirates in the East Blue, and the blonde fought and beat a marine captain as well as Sawtooth, Arlong. Not only that, but it appears that Mahawk is on his crew. Mr. 8 explained. I feel so ashamed for judging them on looks. The burly woman said. No worries, now to get to business. Take everything from their ships and tie them up quickly. The mayor said. Hey, could you let them sleep a little longer? A voice said from atop one of the buildings. You were passed out. Mr. 8 said in shock. A real swordsman would never drink himself into a stupor. Baroque works. Zoro said. How do you know of our organization? Mr. 8 asked and Zoro smirked at him. The entire gathering of bounty hunters looked up in shock at the green-haired swordsman that sat on top of a building, mocking them. I know all about you guys. Back when I was a bounty hunter, you guys had tried to recruit me. Obviously I turned them down. Your secrecy didn't agree with me. You all loyally obey a boss that you don't even know the identity of, simple pawns if anything. Zoro said with a smirk the entire time. Mr. 8 simply looked up at him with a stone-cold face. This is quite unexpected, but if you know of Baroque works you must be killed. The frontier agent explained, just another tombstone added to the cactus rocks. He whispered though everyone heard it. 100 against 1 doesn't really seem fair. A new voice called out that joined Zoro up on the building. Need some help? He asked. Don't you think it's overkill to have a captain pitted against a bunch of weaklings? Zoro asked Naruto. Gee, I don't know. Isn't it overkill to have a first mate that is as strong as a captain do the same? The cape wearer asked. Touché. Zoro sighed in defeat. Another nuisance. Fine, at least this one has a bounty. Ms. Monday said, cracking her knuckles. Kill them, Mr. 8 commanded as he pointed at an empty rooftop. The bounty hunters and frontier agents searched frantically for the two pirates, but failed to notice they were in the middle of the crowd pretending to look as well. Upon noticing them, they opened fire only to shoot each other because Zoro jumped out of the way, and Naruto allowed them to pass through his body. What is wrong with you? They're only two pirates. Mr. 8 barked at his subordinates when a sword poked out of one of his curls. I'm pretty sure that you'll need more than one new tombstone, Zoro said from behind the mayor. There. Shoot him. A random bounty hunter shouted as they all took aim, neglecting to notice that they were going to hit Mr. 8 as well. Not wanting to die, Mr. 8 took out a saxophone and blew into it, which revealed it was actually a shotgun. The resulting blast hit his underlings, rather than Zoro, the attack's intended target. Geez, what a powerful weapon, Zoro said while hiding behind a building. Don't admire the enemy's weapons, Naruto said as he appeared next to him. Fine, fine. What are you doing up anyway? He asked the captain. Never went to sleep, like the rest of my crew, except Bonnie. She must be accustomed to sleeping late. Right now I have them protecting your crew, Naruto explained. Don't you think they'll be really unhappy about that? Zoro pointed out. Nah, why would they be? Inside the pub, I'm really unhappy about this, Kid said as he sat cross-legged on the floor. Why do we have to watch these guys? We should be out there fighting, he ranted. Whoa, what's this, Mr. First Mate not following orders? Law said in a mock surprised voice. Shut up. We should at least wake her up, she should suffer with us, Kid said and pointed to their cook. No way, if you want to go ahead, but there is a rule all men should know, never wake up a woman, Law said in a frightened tone. You both should keep quiet. Guarding should be done with vigilance, especially when it's captain's orders, Mihawk pointed out as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Fine, but I'm killing him after this, Kid said, though none of them noticed that Nami was missing from the group. Back outside. Outside it was a one-sided fight all around with the swordsman and the captain of the allied crews. The both of them were taking down the bounty hunters left and right as if it was nobody's business. Both didn't even want to consider this a warm-up for the Grand Line. They were both currently confronting the frontier agents head-on, and so far only Zoro had suffered any damage. You think you're pretty strong, don't you? Zoro said as he clutched Ms. Monday's head. Do you wanna see who's stronger? He asked as he added pressure, eventually knocking her out. Wow, that was pretty impressive, but you got hit. What kind of guy would willingly take a hit like that? It's stupid, Naruto said as he unceremoniously dropped some leftover bounty hunters onto the ground. I did it for an effective opening, Zoro defended. Whatever, man. While both pirates were conversing, the Baroque Works agents were thoroughly surprised. They had just witnessed their strongest agent strength-wise get defeated by a teenager. This can't be. Ms. Monday was beat by that boy, Ms. Wednesday said in denial. It must be wrong, Mr. 8 said. What is? Mr. 9 and Ms. Wednesday asked. The wanted poster. It has to be. This man has to be the real captain of the Straw Hats, and the one next to him lives up to his bounty, he explained. It looks like we'll have to fight them seriously then, Ms. Wednesday said with a serious face on. How are you going to do that? I thought you were already seriously fighting. I should feel insulted, Naruto said as he suddenly appeared in between them, surprising the agents, who dispersed at the sight of him. Go, Ms. Wednesday, Mr. 9 commanded. The woman nodded and put her pinky in her mouth and whistled. Come, Kuru, she called, and a large human-sized duck appeared that was wearing a saddle and a water barrel around its neck. Is that a duck? Naruto asked with a sweat drop. He watched on as the woman tried to get the duck to attack, but instead it sat down. While the woman was trying to gain control of her pet, Naruto looked up and saw that his partner in crime was fighting Mr. 9. He also took notice that the crown-wearing man was fighting with steel bats. Naruto was about to go and lend a hand when Ms. Wednesday appeared and blocked his path. What do you need? Finally ready to fight? He asked as she stood on top of her duck. Yes, everything has been resolved. She smirked, and if one looked closely, Karoo had 3 bumps stacked on top of each other on his head, and he was sweating profusely. Naruto easily noticed, since he and they guys on more than one occasion were bopped on the head by the women on their respective crews multiple times in the past, present, and most likely the foreseeable future. Take a good look at my outfit, Uzumaki. Enchanting vertigo dance, she exclaimed as she started to belly dance, and the next thing the captain knew was that he was kneeling on the ground completely disoriented. From what he could decipher in his dizzy state, he overheard that Zoro beat Mr. 9, then he felt sharp pains in his back. The shock of being hit brought him back into reality, and he rolled with the force of the attack to get back into a standing position. That hurt, you jerk. He yelled as he tried to nurse his back, but couldn't reach it. Needless to say, the 2 mysterious agents were surprised that the blonde captain had survived a shotgun blast to the back, and was more concerned about the pain than what had actually caused it. How can he be a captain? Ms. Wednesday asked. Trust me, I ask the same question about my captain, and his crew probably does the same. Zoro sighed out as he slashed Mr. 8 and sheathed his sword. Ms. Wednesday was next to go down because Naruto punched her in the stomach. Huh, so these goons tried to recruit you? Naruto asked the swordsman as he tossed him some grog that he pilfered, and sat down next to him on top of another building. Yeah, but I wasn't interested back then, and I'm still not interested, he answered, taking a swig of his alcohol. Hey, who are those guys? Naruto asked and pointed to the newcomers on the battlefield. When Zoro looked down, he saw a black man with dreadlocks and sunglasses. The new guy was wearing a brown trenchcoat with the number 5 on the left side of the zipper as well as on the bottom left, and a pink scarf underneath his coat. Standing next to him was a blonde woman with a green umbrella, and a dress with a lemon pattern on it and lemon earrings. Maybe they're other members, or something, the green-haired teen said as he tossed the now empty bottle over his shoulder. You think that they're stronger? The captain asked, receiving a shrug from the Marimo. Suddenly they heard gunshots and saw Mr. 8 fire bullets from his curls at the 2. What both pirates didn't expect, though, was the black man stood in the explosion and the woman jumped into the air without any prepping first, and looked to be floating. That should not be possible, Naruto said in utter disbelief, but Zoro was more fixated on the fleeing form of Ms. Wednesday after the guy with the 5s on his coat blew up the guy with curlers, with a booger. Well, that's enough weirdness for me. I'm going to bed, Naruto said, and Zoro nodded as they moved back toward the inn the sleeping pirates were, until they were stopped by Mr. 8. What the hell? Zoro asked the man who was clinging to his shoe. Please. The both of you are the strongest people I've seen. I could never defeat an officer agent, but you could. Protect Princess Vivi, and you'd be handsomely rewarded. He pleaded to the both of them. What do you want, some more? The irritated swordsman asked. Hold on, she's a princess. Naruto asked, taking a double take. Man, we just piss everyone off, he said, scratching his head. Forget it. Let's just go, Zoro said. Wait, just how handsomely are we talking? A newly arrived Nami asked. Oh, hey Nami. Naruto greeted her, to which she smiled. Zoro sighed. He just didn't understand what was with that girl when it came to the blonde. She'd act completely different than with Luffy and the rest. We can save your princess, for 1 billion berries, she told the now shocked man. 1 billion? I'm just a soldier, I can't promise that amount, he replied sweatily. Isn't she worth that much? The female pirate asked. What's she doing? Naruto asked his friend. Blackmail, plain and simple, Zoro answered as they watched the negotiations take place. Okay, you guys go get her, Nami commanded the men. Are you insane? Zoro yelled at the navigator. Of course not, all the money is mine, but the agreement is for both crews, she explained. Why am I being roped into this? Naruto asked her. Are you saying you don't want to help me? She said, rubbing against his arm, making the captain melt. I'm gone, princess, yet, he said with a blush. Are you the devil in human form? Zoro asked while watching the spectacle. Don't think that I forgot about you, she said, rounding on the swordsman. What are you talking about? He asked, making her huff in annoyance. You still owe me from Logatown, remember? She asked him. I didn't even need that money. I got the swords for free. He protested. That may be true, but you promised to pay me back at 300% interest, which means you still owe me 300,000 Barris, she told the teen. That's outrageous. He yelled at her. Aren't you going to keep your word? The Carrot Top asked in a deadly tone. You know the afterlife isn't going to be kind, he told her as he dragged the still dazed captain. I know, I'm going down in blazes, she chuckled. Outskirts. Princess Vivi was extremely downtrodden because every single one of her friends in Baroque Works had sacrificed themselves to save her from Mr. Five and Ms. Valentine, and Agaram, her guardian, since leaving Alabasta had done the same. She wished she was stronger so she could have helped, but instead she was retreating on Karoo. You won't escape, Ms. Wednesday. My boom boom fruit powers will see to that. Nez palm cannon. The man yelled as he flicked a booger at the girl. Vivi's eyes widened when she saw it approach her, but she was shocked further when she saw a black hole open in front of her which sucked the explosive in. Dude, do you know how gross that is? Naruto asked as he jumped down alongside Zoro as they stood in front of her. What are you doing? The brunette asked the two pirates. We're rescuing you, of course, the swordsman replied as they faced the officer agents. So pirates have stooped to saving princesses? Mr. Five asked them. Yeah, guess so, Naruto answered. Honestly, he didn't remember what happened. One minute he saw Nami trying to convince him and Zoro to save this princess. When he refused, she had walked up to him, and then he saw Zoro dragging him. If you insist on getting in our way, I'll bury you into the ground, the lemon-wearing woman said with a wide smirk. Naruto, Zoro, Luffy yelled to the two. Huh, Luffy? Naruto questioned. Hey, Luffy, you don't have to get involved in this, we can handle this. Zoro told his captain. I don't care. We're gonna fight, he yelled to them. What? Came their intelligent answer. You guys beat up all those townspeople, even though they fed us. Yeah, but they were actually both pirates, but were interrupted when the vest-wearing teen got in front of them, poised to deliver twin punches to their faces. Both had to dodge right away, but were shocked to see a wall behind them shatter. Are you trying to kill us? Zoro asked his captain in shock at the destruction the punches caused. That's right. Die. It looks like they're tied up, Mr. 5 inches, Ms. Valentine said with a sweat drop, and her partner nodded. It looks like it. So let us kill Vivi, he said. Stop it, Luffy, Zoro said, and he booted his captain into the pair. Damn it. What is his problem? Naruto asked with his arms crossed. He then looked up to see Ms. Valentine flying in the air again. I see London, I see France, Naruto said, making her blush. Flattery will get you nowhere. With my kilo fruit I can raise and lower my weight at will, she explained, though neither pirate seemed to be paying her any attention. Instead they were looking at the re-emerging Luffy holding a KO'd Mr. 5. Luffy, you need to calm down, these guys were bounty hunters, Zoro explained in the time it took Naruto to jump up to the floating woman and axe-kicked her into the ground, before landing in his previous spot. Vivi was shocked that these rookies had beaten the officers with relative ease, and Karoo was practically trembling in awe. I'm done trying to reason with you. I'll fight seriously, but don't complain when I kill you, Zoro told his captain as he tied on his bandana. Hold on. I want to knock some sense into him too, but killing him is out of the question, Naruto said. Yeah, well, you're welcome to stop me, Blondie, the swordsman told him. Naruto didn't take kindly to having his hair ridiculed, and soon got angry, evident by the red lightning streaking across his cape. Blondie, he asked in a deadly tone. Having a dispute, you killers? Luffy asked with his hat shadowing one of his eyes. Vivi could only stare at the three powerhouses facing off, their mere presence making her feel like an insect. How can the Grand Line still have people this strong at its start? The princess asked herself. After her question was asked, the three immediately charged at one another. Zoro went for an overhead slash on his captain, but had to duck when Naruto tried to roundhouse kick him in the stomach. Naruto then used the momentum from his kick to get into a handstand, and delivered a kick to his brother that made him fly back from the force. Luffy took the kick in stride and used his powers to grab onto a building's wall, Gum Gum Rocket. Luffy launched himself at Naruto, but then saw that he went through him. After evading the attack, the blonde was sent flying into the same wall Luffy used for his attack by some kind of slashing wind. Zoro then turned just in time to block Luffy's mounted surprise attack. Using this to his advantage, Zoro pushed his block forward and opened his swords in order to break Luffy's guard. Luffy, not wanting to get slashed, ducked under the slash, and used Gum Gum Spear on the swordsman's stomach, which resulted in him getting hunched over as Luffy then used Gum Gum Bazooka on his chest. Zoro was skidding along the ground much like a skipping stone, before he used his swords to halt himself. When he looked up, he saw Naruto using his fast-forward barrage to counter his brother's Gum Gum Gatling. Zoro rushed back into the fray as he crossed his arms, Oni. Zoro exclaimed as he used his signature attack. Both of the other fighters in this free-for-all noticed this and prepped their own powerful techniques. Luffy threw both of his arms behind him, Gum Gum. Naruto balled his hand into a fist and brought it back so far that he had one foot on the ground as his fist started to glow, Nova. As soon as they were all within range of each other's attack, they let them loose, Jiri. Bazooka. Punch. The resulting shockwave sent all three of the sailing into buildings, and the dirt. Neither one of them wanted to yield in the fight, so they all got up after lifting any rubble off of their person, and went back to clash once again. Suddenly, Zoro and Luffy were punched across the face while Naruto had a gentle hand stop him. What do you think you're doing? We could have lost a billion bears just now. The puncher, who was revealed to be Nami, yelled at her crewmates. Naruto just stood next to the princess, making sure she was okay, and apologizing for how rude he was as he kissed her hand, not noticing the blush. To clarify, Vivi will have a crush on the knucklehead. Hey, Luffy, where are you? Kid yelled as he appeared with a hand near his mouth to amplify his voice. Oi, kid, what are you doing here? And didn't I tell you to keep an eye on the crew? Naruto asked his first officer. It was those idiots' fault, they distracted me. Kid told his captain and then took notice of the blue-haired girl. Isn't she that Ms. Wednesday? He asked. Sit down, it's a long story. Zoro told his fellow first mate. A few minutes later. I'll skip the whole Alabasta in turmoil speech cause seriously you guys should know this. Wow. Baroque works sure is twisted to do that to a country. Kid piped up after hearing the princess's plight. They are, but the mastermind is far worse. Vivi shivered as she recollected the man. Who is? Luffy asked with a voice laced in curiosity. I can't tell you. If I told you his true identity, you'd be hunted down, she frantically said with a hand over her mouth. Come on, there isn't anyone else around. Naruto said, practically shaking with anticipation. Yeah, if I'm gonna help, I at least want to know who it is I'm fighting. Kid said with a menacing smirk that scared the young girl. I'm sorry, but I can't. You all may be strong, but you can't possibly stand up to Sir Crocodile. After all, he is one of the 7 warlords, she told. It took a few minutes to sink in until everyone stood there with reactions of excitement for the guys and shock for the girls. Why'd you tell us? Nami yelled as she shook the princess, who was apologizing in succession. Wow, another warlord. Our Grand Line adventures are only beginning too. Kid said. So this guy is in Hawkeye's league. Interesting. Naruto said while Luffy was jumping around in excitement and Zoro just had a smirk. After the celebrations were finished, a strange otter and a vulture appeared a few feet away from them, before the otter flew away on top of the vulture. Was that an otter? Zoro asked. Who were they? Nami demanded as she continued to shake the princess. They were the unluckies. They report anyone who knows the boss's identity. She cried out. Well, have fun. The orange-haired girl said as she started to walk away. Where are you going, Nami? Luffy asked his navigator. I'm outta here, it's not like they know what I look like. As soon as that statement left her mouth, the unluckies reappeared and Mr. 13 was writing something on a sketchpad he had brought out. After he was finished, he showed everyone that he had mad perfect pictures of Naruto, Luffy, Kid, Zoro, and Nami. Wow, those are good. Nami applauded and turned around with tears going down her face. Don't worry, Nami, we can handle it. Luffy laughed. Yeah, Nami, it's not like Luffy would ask you to be on his crew if you were weak. Naruto assured her, making her blush at their faith. Do not worry. The former Mr. 8 told them in a replica of Vivi's outfit and holding 5 dummies. What the hell? It's that mayor guy. What are you, an Okama? Kid asked. No, I'm trying to draw any Baroque Works agents off your trail. He told them as they all nodded their head as if they were just going along with what he said. More importantly, Princess, I need the eternal pose to Alabasta. Agaram asked. After learning what an eternal pose was, the pirates were seeing off the man dressed in drag. But after the 6 turned around to get their crews, a giant explosion erupted behind them which incinerated the man's escape ship. They retaliated that fast? Kid asked in shock. We have to go, Naruto said as he and his brother ran to get their respective crews. Minutes later. And that's the story, Naruto explained to his crew. Already knee-deep in trouble, huh? Well, I'm not surprised. Law smirked. So that's what Crocodile has been up to. That man is swine. Hawkeye muttered the last part. Hello, hey, have you guys heard yourselves? This is Sir Crocodile, warlord of the sea, former bounty of 81 million Barris. Bonnie panicked and paced. Don't worry so much. Luffy, you take Vivi, Naruto told his brother. Okay, Luffy said in the affirmative. Why? Vivi asked. What are you going to miss me, Your Highness? He asked, teasing the girl. I want you to go with Luffy because it was his agreement. We'll meet at Alabasta to help, he explained. All right, see you later, Luffy said as he hopped aboard Mary. Don't try anything while I'm gone, Nami told the pink-haired cook. HMPH, do not tell me what to do. Besides, I have Usopp working on something for me, she smirked. And what might that be? The navigator asked. Something that'll help me fight, the Pinkett said. Nami grit her teeth as she walked away. She'd need to be able to fight too, to gain Naruto's attention. On the Bon Bon. Man, another warlord. This place is awesome, Kid said while lying on the deck. Yes, but if that's all it takes to interest you, I'm disappointed. Only stupid people are easily amused. Law taunted, much to Kid's ire. I have to say that the young swordsman may be onto something with those naps he takes. They must help him cope with his crew. Mihawk sighed out as he looked over to his captain to see the cook flirting with him. I'm gonna take the helm, the blonde captain said. Then there was a faint flutter of air that everyone but the blonde seemed to notice. When everyone followed it to its end point, they saw a peculiar sight. Hey, guys, did Naruto always have 4 legs and wear high heels on the extra feet? Kid asked. Hawkeye was edging toward his sword with his hand, Law was standing there to see where this was going, and Jewelry was seething at the woman that was so close to her man. This place is quaint, much more welcoming than the Strafut's ship, a calm, sultry voice said. Wah, who the hell are you? Naruto asked and noticed he felt lighter. Hey, gimme back my cape. He yelled at her. The woman was wearing a purple cowgirl outfit with her cleavage noticeably showing, and large brown eyes with short black hair. Smarter than his brother, yet prone to the same tendencies, the mystery woman giggled. Suddenly, Kid was pushed back along with Bonnie, and Mihawk and Law's swords were knocked to the ground by some invisible force. Don't point those at me, it's dangerous, she smiled tauntingly while she wrapped herself in the cape. What are you doing here? Don't make me kick your ass. Naruto aggressively told her. And here I thought that unlike your brother you'd accept my help, she said offhandedly. Well, what is it? He asked, now listening to what she said. Before he decided to kick her ass. The woman smirked as she flicked an eternal pose into his hands. That is an eternal pose that will lead you to the island of nothing. That is one stop before Alabasta. She explained. Do you really expect us to fall for some Baroque works trap? Law asked seriously as he lost his smile. Maybe. She answered with the tone he would normally respond with. She is not lying. Am I wrong, Captain? Mihawk asked with his arms crossed. Yeah, she isn't lying. Thanks. He said, shocking the woman. After regaining her composure, the woman let the cape float back down to the blonde and jumped off the ship, landing on top of a giant turtle and left. Hey, what's your name? Naruto yelled to her. Ms. All Sunday. She answered. Not what I was looking for, but okay. He muttered. Why'd you let her go? We could have taken her as a hostage, Bonnie asked, though she wasn't going to say why she wanted her captured. She isn't bad. She is just playing at that, but I don't know why. Naruto answered as he contemplated on something. Guys, if you meet her in Alabasta, don't hurt her seriously. She is still an enemy though, he commanded his crew. Alright, there was something off about her anyway. Kid said. Oui, mon capitaine. Law said as he saluted with a smirk. Orders are orders. Also, Trafalgar, don't ever do that impression again. Hawkeye told the doctor with a deadly edge to his voice. Bonnie was the only one who had an objection to the orders, but she knew that going up against orders could get her a one-way ticket out of the crew. Fine. She said through gritted teeth. Okay, time for breakfast. Naruto said, earning cheers from the crew except for Hawkeye. The next day. What are you doing? Bonnie asked the swordsman lying on the deck. I'm taking a page out of Roronoa's book, and sleeping. He seems to be content when he does it. Mihawk replied to her. Well, that's a luxury you can't afford, unless you can navigate. The Pinkett told him, but he had fallen asleep after she started talking. Wake up, you yellow-eyed bastard. Bonnie yelled as she stomped on his nether region. This action made Hawkeye wake up instantly to clutch his injury and cry some very small tears. I'm glad I got your attention. She smiled sweetly. If you think I'm going to let you get away with that, he started, but he soon cowered at her dark aura. Finish that sentence and I'll send you back to infancy, or maybe you'd prefer to be an old man, she said in a threatening tone. Hawk, take my advice, walk away. Kid told the oldest member of the crew. The swordsman heeded the warning and started to help the others with navigating. No, I'm pretty sure we follow the red arrow. No, we have to follow the white side. Please, if it's in the shape of a ball we probably need to float depending on how high the needle is, the guys argued amongst themselves. Hey, look, an island. Bonnie said calmly. How the hell did you get to this island? We've been trying to read this pose thingy all day. Naruto said. You guys have been looking at the log pose, you were supposed to be following the eternal pose, she clarified. We knew that. They all said. Ray's Island. This new island was very strange to the pirates. For one thing, its welcome sign was scratched out and the actual island was barren and black as if nothing had grown there ever. Wow. This place is sad. Kid stated, taking notice of the huts made out of the plentiful dirt of the island. Yeah, you would know. Just look at this place and all of these sick people, it doesn't look like they have any doctors either. Law said and insulted Kid's upbringing. At least I wasn't sterilized when I was born, Doc. Kid shot back. Who cares about that? Where's the food? Naruto asked while sticking his tongue out. I doubt that there would be any food on this island, given its present state of famine. Mihawk explained. What's a famine? Kid and Naruto asked as they tilted their heads to the side. It's a lack of food in layman's terms. He explained again to the monkeys. No food. Who did this? Where are you so I can kick your ass? Naruto started to run around. While he was running around, his crew and the island natives just watched his hysterical shouting, that is until he collapsed muttering something about needing meat ramen. I'm embarrassed to even be seen with him. Law said while raking his hand across his face in an exasperated fashion. Hey guys, is it normal to have little kids crawling all over you? Naruto asked when he somehow appeared with two 5-year-olds literally crawling on him like bugs. No. What the hell are you two doing? Kid asked. When the crew pulled the two kids off their captain, they took the time to look at them. One was a boy with a green eye and a brown eye. He was wearing a beige shirt that was in tatters along with his black shorts. He had short spiky red hair, but the spikes were smaller than Naruto's, and he had a hard gaze. The other child was a girl that had red hair that went down her face in two bangs. The first covered her left eye, and the second went down the middle of her face and stopped at her nose. She, like the boy, had two different colored eyes that were the same colors as his, and she wore a beige dress. Also, unlike the boy, she held a softer gaze. So why were you all over our captain, little ones? Mihawk asked the kids, who looked at each other. We saw that. You were pirates, so we tried to get some berry off of you, they said as they completed the sentence while alternating who was talking. That was pretty cool. Can you do that again? Naruto asked excitedly. Twins, huh? Interesting. Most twins can have connectivity, but to this extent is unheard of. Law said as he observed the two of them up close. The guys were questioning the kids, but the only two that stayed back were Hawkeye and Bonnie. They were suspicious of these two. Seriously, what kids would try to steal from possibly hostile pirates? Not to mention that they didn't seem as starved as the rest of the villagers. So what are your names? Kid asked the two. My sister's name is Rill. My brother's name is Russ. They answered for each other. Russ and Rill. That's funny. Naruto laughed while they both flushed in embarrassment as all three of the pirates laughed. The laughs were cut short when a baby transponder snail's ring was heard from Russ' pocket. We're sorry, but we have to go, they said as they scurried away at an amazing speed. I wonder what's eating them? Kid asked. Nothing eats them, kid. They're the only living things on this island. What are you, stupid? Naruto said to his first mate. That isn't what I meant, he retorted. Still, how can they have a transponder snail at all? Law asked. You must be newcomers, it's about time. Perhaps you could help us. An old geezer said from the shadows. In an alley. So we have some fresh meat. A shadowed man asked the twins, who were sweating in fear and nodded their heads. Good. It was getting boring around here. I can't wait to meet them. An equally shadowed woman laughed. You too. The man said, pointing at the twins. I want you to separate them one by one. It will be simpler to beat them if they're on their own, he said. Russ and Rill really didn't want to trick these pirates. They were different from the ones they had heard about from the Marines. But they also didn't feel like dying by the mystery man and woman either. Back with the others. So you're telling us that no one has come by this island at all? Law said to the old man. No, our island was pretty peaceful for a time. That is until these two strangers showed up out of nowhere. They were talking about some boss that had sent them there to deter any Marines from approaching someplace called Alabasta, he explained. When they heard the word Alabasta, it clicked in all their minds, Baroque works. Bonnie growled out as everyone nodded, except the clueless senior. Anyway, those two came, a man and a woman. They said they were taking over. We didn't believe them at first, but that woman, she did something to the island. All she did was place her hand on the ground, and the next thing we knew the island was dead. So we had no choice but to give in to their demands. Those two kids, he would have continued if Naruto didn't run off. Where are you, Baroque jerks? It's all your fault that there isn't any food, he yelled throughout the island. Don't mind him, he's eccentric. Could you continue? Law asked. And that's their story. The old man finished. After the initial shock of Naruto's outburst, he continued the story without them. You kept explaining, even though we weren't listening. They all yelled, except the swordsman. Young people today have no respect for stories, so why should I wait? the old man asked. We were listening. They shouted again. It doesn't matter what the problem is with those kids. We're after Baroque works, that's all that matters. Mahawk said simply. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'll tend to the wounded and sick for right now. Law stated as he walked away from the group. Well, I say we find those kids and ask them what's going on. Kid said, and the remaining pirates of the group nodded. A few minutes later, with Kid, the pirates decided to split up to find the twins. Geez, they're good at disappearing. Kid said in a frustrated tone. The flame-haired pirate then caught a glimpse of what he believed was Russ entering an alley. Hey! Kid! Kid yelled to him and made the wise decision to follow him. When Kid turned into the alley, he felt someone touch his chest and he blacked out. With Bonnie, the female cook was searching high and low, leaving no stone unturned in order to find her captain. Instead of finding the children, Bonnie thought find her man was more important. After all, the guys could handle the search themselves, right? Naruto, where are you? She called for the blonde that had somehow disappeared without a trace, despite the commotion he was making. You can never find him when you need him. She puffed out her cheeks in a pout, but suddenly a very familiar form ran by her that she recognized as her captain. Hey, wait up! She called to him and chased after him. Eventually, she caught up to him, but was shocked to see that he seemed to be made out of chrome. Before she could question it, a glob of liquid trickled onto her shoulder, and encased her in a dome. I just love young girls. Maybe I could have some fun with her later. The shadowed man said in a creepy manner over the shouts coming from the violently shaking dome. With Hawkeye, the swordsman of the galactic pirates, felt something amiss on the island, and his time on the crew has proven that whenever he got this feeling, his crew was in danger. Luckily for him, he got a hold of the twins. Now, why don't you tell me where my crew is? He asked the two guilty-looking kids. Well, they've probably been captured by now, they answered. Normally that would be troubling, but with this crew I'm sure they can handle these Baroque Works agents, he said and started to walk away. Aren't you going to help them? They asked, worried and confused by his actions. No, they need to grow more without me there to save them. Right now I'm the strongest on the crew, he said seriously. That's all the more reason to help, the twins pleaded to him. Don't worry, they're getting there. Pretty soon I'll just be one of the strongest on the crew. He smirked as headed toward the ship to wait for his crew's return. Minutes later, Naruto had finally come down from his high and was trudging along with no clear path. Stupid Baroque Works, killing islands, and taking all the food, he said as he collapsed. I'm lost, curse you, Ray's Island. This place is a madhouse, he yelled to the heavens. Finally, I thought you'd never show up, Law said from his sitting position right next to his captain. How long were you sitting there? The blonde asked, embarrassed. For a while actually, mostly because of the banner. The doctor pointed above their heads to the large banner that read, Galactics, if you want your goth and bitch back, meet us at noon, in the center of town. So, we going? Law said while getting up with his captain. We go, he seriously stated as he and his doctor strode towards the unknown Baroque Works agents.